What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Normal American Show. Host robnoerr call-in show today. Hope you're all doing great. Got my big 24-hour show tomorrow. I got to admit to being incredibly underprepared for that show tomorrow. I set out a bunch of invitations, and basically no one got back to me. So I thought that I'd have at least 6 to 8 hours of debate contact or working with other people, and haven't had anyone really reach back to me. So that's okay. We'll still do the show, and it's still going to be a good show. I'll just find people to yell at in the audience. There's Robert Whaley. I could yell at him. Zero Smoke. I could yell at him. Of course, Sniper. Always great to yell at. So it'll be a fun show, though. I can't wait. So that's going to start at 8 a.m. tomorrow. But that doesn't mean that we're slacking off today. Quite to the contrary, we're going to be doing extra content today as well. Today I'll be doing the call-in show till about 2:30. Then we got to go pick up my son in the snow-filled landscape that I live in that caused my son to have another 2-hour delay today. And so we'll be doing that. 2:30 the show will go to, and then tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, I will be on. Oh, look at that! Holy cow! Don't worry, I'll yell at Jungle as well. There's plenty of stuff to yell at. Hell, I'll even yell at myself. I'll get to the super chats here in a minute. You guys are incredibly generous. 8:30 tonight, I'll be doing a panel on Admiral Gibbs's show, and it'll be righties versus lefties on the Somalian fraud that we see in Minnesota. So I'm sure it'll be downplayed and said it wasn't a big deal by the lefties that'll be on the panel. So should be fun. Let's see. Oh, okay. The one person that was going to be there had to drop out. I thought something happened because, did you ever get that? You'll be like on a text exchange or a Discord message, and you just see one thing, and you're like, uh-oh. I just saw someone like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, or rest in peace, Tyler. I was like, wait, what? This dude died? No, he just said he can't be there. So, okay, I panicked for a minute. I'm like, oh no. I don't want anyone to die. That's crazy. So, that's the plan. That'll be at 8:30 p.m. And on my side of the aisle will be Grid Motorsports, and my co-host of Law and Order, Ryan Mullally, will be on there as well. So it should be a lot of fun. It should be a very good show. That'll be at 8:30 tonight, and then we'll just go into the regular show. Now, I am going to try to get to bed at a reasonable hour tonight, so I'll probably wrap tonight's show up around 11:30 midnight. I hope people understand that, seeing as how we're going to go 24 hours tomorrow. So it would probably behoove me to get at least 6 hours of sleep this fine evening so that we could go into that. But I like these 24-hour shows. It gives me a chance to riff, because I feel like I can't be constrained to a normal 4-hour show. It doesn't give me a chance to say everything I want to say. So we'll bounce around to a bunch of different topics. Of course, there's all the debate panel shows Friday evening. Verbal Combat, I'll probably jump on, and I'll be able to stay there until the wee hours of the morning this time. So should be fun. Though I'll probably suck and lose a debate on there because I'll be like super tired. But no excuses. Be a man. I've certainly worked, at previous jobs 30, 40 hours in a row without sleep. So I think I could sit here and do a 24-hour stream, no problem. In addition to the 2-hour delay business, anything else going on interesting with my family? I believe that my wife's sister's coming over tonight to deal with like Christmas business. So like making Christmas cookies and all that good stuff. So I think my wife's going to be hanging out with her sister while I'm up here streaming. So that'll be nice for my wife. And that'll be bad for me, who's been really trying to watch what I eat. So having a house full of cookies will be a temptation for me. I will resist. I'm capable. I'm capable of resisting this shit. So, that's all that's been going on for me. Super chats, real quick. Imposter coding $5. Thanks so much as Avarice. Welcome back, Dono. Yes, welcome back, Avarice. How's it feel to be
good
at home
to be
as
back?
a father?
Good to be back. Good to be back.
Your house, your son's back, your wife's back, everyone's healthy and good?
Fantastic. Everything's good. First night, real good. My son is fucking amazing. So everything you want it to be.
It goes so fast. The early days go so fast, but I couldn't be happier for you, man. And I'm so glad everyone's healthy. And once you finally home, like, don't get me wrong, those first day or two in the hospital, we were there 3 days because of the COVID bullshit, but whatever. I love those days, but there's nothing like when you finally get home and you're there with your family.
56 hours of labor, then 36 hours of wait. It was a long
Yes.
It was a long haul. So we were there from Saturday all the way to Wednesday. So it was
that's a long haul, man.
Long haul.
Your wife's a trooper, though.
Trooper. Everything is good. My kid is fucking fantastic. And the best part is when it came to the genetic war, Avarice won, baby. He's got all features.
That's right.
The fun part is, I don't know if a lot of you guys know about blood types, Rob. So I'm AB Po, right? And my wife is AB negative, right? I guess so. That's real controversial for the second baby, right? So my wife had to go through this another shot sequence just so that, because my blood, if it was still in her system, because the baby ended up becoming AB Po 2, it would actually eat and kill baby number 2.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm not joking. So I didn't even know this. So I didn't know that you had to be very particular about blood types too. So baby 1 would have been fine, but since the baby had my blood type, it was now mixed with mom's blood, and now my blood would have eaten baby 2.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's menacing.
So it's crazy. When's the kids first? We'll get to that question. Let's go. There's a lot of Avarice ones. Let's just wrap up so I can go on the back.
All right. Letty, $5 says, I forgot to send the link for that debate review. I'll try to get that link tonight. Sure. And maybe it's something I could do as part of the 24-hour show tomorrow. So I'll definitely be looking for things to talk about. An absolute legend. Our incredible friend Jungle, $300. Holy cow.
Legend.
What a legend. Says, you could yell at me too. I don't mind. Jungle, I appreciate not only the donations, but the invitation tomorrow when I need to yell at people when I'm half asleep to stay awake. It's nice to know that I have supporters who are like, that's okay, yell at me. So thank you so much, Jungle.
Yeah, it's funny that Rob took all those debates, but he didn't take my debate up. I didn't get an email saying Rob accepted your debate for cereal soup.
We could do it impromptu. I'm gonna try to goad in some lefties tonight by saying, but I'll even take the bullshit drama people if they want to call in tomorrow.
I'm gonna go on X Spaces here today, and I'm gonna try to wrangle in some people for tomorrow. So
I would love to have people legitimate lefties that disagree with me, but
me too.
Speaking of which, I did get a weird. I'm not going to say from who, but someone that I think really hates me, DM'd me and passed along that someone wants to debate me on, someone from Destiny's orbit wants to debate me on whether or not there should be Nuremberg-style trials for the Trump team. So maybe I'll reach out to that person and be like, sure, call in tomorrow. Happy to do it,
That's pretty funny.
But Jungle, thank you again, man. Really appreciate it.
I wish I get those messages. I just get the sex bots in my messages. Hey there, how are you? It's been a long time,
dude. I can tell you. I'll tell you a story off scene about a debate I did a while ago. Part
While
of
they
it
were hooked
was
up to the masturbation machines.
No. I can't prove that. I should not even say this, right?
We'll talk offline. Let's go to the demo.
Well, I'm going to say it now because you got.
All right, too late.
So I did a debate. I won't say what to, but I did a debate, and part of it was a text exchange, actual phone numbers, and then after the debate, I started getting these weird text messages from people saying they were women. It wasn't sexting or anything, but it was like, "Hey, do you remember me? Answer your phone. Why won't you answer? Why won't you respond?"
That's
now
crazy.
I can't prove that it's from this person's community, and it could literally just be someone with the wrong number. I don't know, but I'm suspicious. I'm like, you see, this is why I shouldn't fucking use real phone exchanges, particularly with lefties. You shouldn't do
that one time when we were all live and you flashed your number, we had to get rid of the video.
Yes, that's happened. It has happened. So I mean, but it is weird. But I don't get that. I used to get a lot on X, the DMs of the bots, whether it be the sex bots wasn't even the most common one. I got the crypto bots. So I would get the like they pretended like, oh, here's that crypto key that you requested
really?
and blah
I've
blah
never got
blah.
that.
I used to get them like crazy. That was the big one I got. So.
That's crazy. I only get the sex ones. The go to like they're trying to goad you to their OnlyFans.
No, I don't. I've seen those, but I haven't got those in a while.
I used to have like my wife used to tell you I used to have this like small habit of like just arguing with it to try to. I used to just start calling it names like clanker, and I'm like, no, you're just a dirty clank, and I'll argue with this bot for hours to eat time, right? And my wife would be looking at me, and she'd be like, "Sex bot," I'd be like, just trying to get it caught up in its own words, baby.
Yeah.
I'll show this whole text chain.
Call me GL. $2 says get fruit and honey for smoothies for sweet fixes. Yeah, I mean it's not a bad idea. I've been pretty good. I've like since Thanksgiving, the only 2 times I've cheated on. Basically, I'm just doing. I say green vegetables, but not really because I eat a shitload of carrots. So carrots, peppers and onions and stuff like that are okay. But basically, just vegetables like that. No potatoes, no sweet potatoes, nothing like that, and just meat. That's all I've been eating. So no pasta, no bread, no dessert. The only 2 times I've cheated was I've had 2 bowls of Cinnamon Life cereal since Thanksgiving. So other than that, and I have had a couple eggs, but I don't think that's that bad either. I think eggs are pretty reasonable. So no cookies or anything, no dessert I've been all right. So
you know what you remind me of? Have you my favorite? You always remind me of one of my favorite comedians. I know this sounds like I'm not even trying to glaze, but have you ever heard of John Pinette?
Yes. Yeah.
So you always remind me of him when you talk about food because he's like, and then there was a lot of salad.
Yeah. 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 It's good shit, man. He is funny. I couldn't think. Now I can picture him. Yeah. But yeah, well, that like, Brian Shapiro. Brian Shapiro gave me a lot of. It looks like you have trouble eating salads. No, I eat salads. I even as a big fat guy that was eating poorly, I eat salads a lot. I just also ate other bullshit on top of it.
Yeah, you see, I mean, I eat salad. The problem was, here's my problem with salad, all right? And I'll even say it right now. I was at the hospital for 5 days, and it was actually super cheap food, all right? Like, the grill food was like $5, right? For the whole, with like burger, fries, or like orange chicken and rice with a side, $5, $5.90. Do you know how much the side salad was? $7.
Yeah,
it was less than the meal.
It's crazy. They could be crazy. A couple more super chats and we'll get in. AJC, $40. Thank you. Says, saw the stream last night. I saw a cricket outside and then inside my house with weird antennas. It must be an Israeli plant. That explains it. It was the same cricket. I think it's planning on getting me when I get home. Thank you, AJC, for the support. Yeah, listen, I have no problem with people believing conspiracies or asking questions and stuff. I think it's perfectly healthy and reasonable to question official narratives. But last night's show was a bit frustrating because we're talking about the Candace Owens stuff, and I'm just like, well, what are some of the things she says? Because I hear a lot of shit, but it might be bullshit. Maybe it's just people that hate her, and so they're saying, oh, she blamed the French government and people in maroon shirts and beekeepers and, she blamed the Trump administration. She blamed Erica Kirk, and she blamed this person and Macron and his wife. And I was like, is that true? And people were like, no, not really. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, like, what's some of the things she's suggesting? And, not to relitigate it, but the big thing that people were saying, and there were supporters of her, it seemed, or at least people that are, trying to steel man her position, something about planes. They kept saying, what about the planes? And I was like, I haven't heard about the planes. What's up with the planes? And apparently the story was for 1.5 to 2 years, 73 times, Egyptian planes were in the sky above Erica Kirk. And I was like, so what's the implication? What's the story here? And it was like, well, they weren't really Egyptian. They were Jewish planes flying out of Cairo. It's like, okay. And of course, people in my audience are like, this has been debunked. But I was like, well, let's say it hasn't been debunked. What's the implication here? And they're like, well, Candace hasn't made one. And so then my point's like, but I could say that, like, you could say there's weird things about this guy. Okay, but what's that have to do with, I just don't, I don't understand it. If the argument was, did you know, within 2 hours of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, an Israeli plane landed at a local airport and then took off 20 minutes later, I'd be like, oh, I get it. So the implication is the assassin maybe got on this Israeli plane and fled. I can at least piece together what the story would be there. I don't even know what's going on with these planes in the sky over Erica Kirk argument. I tried my best. The best I could come up with was that it was to intimidate the Kirks for a year and a half, perhaps. And now perhaps Erica Kirk can't speak up about it because she's continuing to be intimidated by the Israeli government. I don't know. But as I tried to piece it together, am I wearing a maroon shirt? Oh, shit. I didn't even realize it. I should have wore this last night while that whole thing was going. Anyways, the point is I was trying to be reasonable and like ask people that were supportive. Because I'm sorry. No, I don't give a shit enough to watch through fucking 50, 60 hours of her live stream content to try to piece together what she's saying, right? If someone watched me and said, well, what's robnoerr's, claims about, Russiagate? My audience would be able to be like, he thinks that the FBI was in it to get Trump, that they were trying to screw him over and illegally spied on him. And you'd be able to come up with that story quick. But when I ask Candace supporters, they're like, well, we're not sure. We're not sure what she's saying. And
there's
a couple of them were like,
Rob.
Well, a couple of them were like fucking livid that I was just asking about this.
Well,
you're a fucking FBI bootlicker. What are you talking about? I just got done saying, of course I'm not just going to blindly trust the FBI. I'm not going to blindly trust Candace Owens either, or you, or me, or anyone else. Like if someone makes a big claim, it's like, oh, okay, a big claim.
You were live for Andrews last night, right? Did you watch any of it?
No, I was.
Dude, you should have seen. So Andrew was asking questions too, and some of the audience was getting on him just for asking questions.
Which is ironic because isn't that what Candace does?
That's
right. Like the whole argument for what Candace is doing is basically like, well, she's just asking questions, so no need to get offended.
Rob, you're just asking questions. You see right there.
Yeah, and so I don't get it, And I even said, like, look, if she just wants to be like, well, who benefited? Well, Candace Owens benefited after the death of Charlie Kirk. But then I made the point. I'm not accusing her. I'm just saying you got to be careful with that kind of shit because you know who else benefited? Me. My channel's grown. So does that mean that I should be implicated? I would hope not. I'd never met Charlie Kirk. I hope that my audience believes me that I had nothing to do with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I'm outraged by it.
We all know where your people come from. All right. We all know that you went in there and you reached in and you stole all of your people from the tomato. Come on. We all know this. All right. There's no question.
Devil's Raspberry, $2 says, enough of the gushy stuff. When's the kids' first debate?
So we will have the great Gerber debate here soon, whether peas and carrots is better than fruit medley. No, but we will do a reveal here one day for the show.
Zach Gelpy, $20 says, there he is, Avarice.
Awesome. Zach Gelpy, everybody. That's Zach Gelpy.
Our friend Jungle says, Avarice deserves a big fat daddy salute. Whatever that may look like, I'm not responsible for the image you just created in your head. Love you, brother. Cheers, Rob. Peep your Discord when you get time. I will. I was just explaining to Avarice, I got several messages on Discord last night, and I went to bed right after the show and didn't check until I woke up at 11 here. So I definitely will respond. And Zach Kelpie, another $20 says, Anthony caught me. I'm in charge of training the Mossad crickets. Now we have to go back to the bullfrogs, which already turned gay. Damn it. Yeah. So, all right, I'm going to get into the show. A couple stories here, and then we're going to open the college.
I have a good one, Krill. See you in the back. Like Rose.
Thank you. First up, not to belabor this point on Candace Owens, but a lot of times when I do the call-in show, people want to talk about the stuff I talked about the night before. One of the points that was being made was that Candace Owens basically said that she would be willing to debate Turning Point USA or anyone else on these claims, which is fine. And a lot of the Candace supporters are saying basically, well, the fact that these organizations are afraid to debate her seems to suggest they have something to hide. Well, first off, it's my understanding that Turning Point USA, after she said basically anywhere, anytime, offered to do an in-person live debate with her. She rejected that. Candace fans are like, yes, but why can't they do it at different times, different places? Fair enough, but why couldn't Candace make time to go do that? This is the biggest story to her. She claims to be Charlie Kirk's friend. If I had a chance to go to the people that I thought killed my friend and are now grifting after his name, and I had one chance to go point this out in person, I would certainly take that chance. I likened it to this. I have a lot of stuff going on with my family as well. But leading into the 2024 election, if I was talking about corruption from the Bidens, and all of a sudden Joe Biden or Hunter Biden said, we challenge robnoerr to an in-person debate, I'd have found a fucking way to get there and do that debate. Sort of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Why doesn't Turning Point USA want to bend over backwards to cater to her to do things online, et cetera, et cetera? I don't know. Maybe because she's basically implying they murdered their founder, and so they feel like she's not worth that amount of respect. I don't know. All I'm saying is, if your claim is, the fact that it seems that they're running and don't want to debate, I can say the same thing about Candace. And I know for a fact, which is why I'm playing this clip, that the group that I'm working with, Word War Debate, wasn't that we released this, but yes, Steven Crowder is accurate that there was an offer made to Steven Crowder and to her to debate. $30,000 a piece was offered to them. Crowder waived his fee and offered to give that $30,000 to Candace Owens. She rejected that. She didn't want to do that debate. And here's way back in October, before this debate was proffered, why we did it.
My heart aches for the fact that he gave so much of his life to Trump and to politics, and they just were like, nope, that is it. It serves us or it doesn't serve us, and we want to move on. And so here's a holiday. Bro, if they try to give me a holiday, what is with them giving people a holiday after they kill them? Why is that a thing? You know what I mean? Like, oh, Martin Luther King, what about this?
No, I want you to listen again to what she said. She's not just saying nefarious people within the FBI. She's specifically talking about the Trump administration. Listen.
My heart aches for the fact that he gave so much of his life to Trump and to politics, and
gave his life to Trump and to politics. And listen.
They just were like, nope.
They, implying Trump and the politics, they were like, nope.
That is it. It serves us or it doesn't serve us, and we want to move
He either serves us or he doesn't. Again, talking about Trump and politics.
on. And so here's a holiday. Bro.
And then they gave him a holiday.
If they try to give me a holiday, what is with them giving people a holiday after they kill them?
They killed him. And of course, Steven Crowder in this video will then bring this up.
Really killed you.
That outrageous claims, and this is an outrageous claim, require outrageous evidence. Of course, as is par for the course, none has been presented. And I know that there might be a weaseling here saying, oh, well, I said the Fed, not the Trump administration. I said a boulevard in Israel. It's pretty clear, not clear. What she said was, they, the Fed, give you a boulevard when that's a sure sign that they have killed you. You know that they have killed you. He was betrayed in the worst way possible, giving so much of his life to the Trump presidency, to politics. The federal government, the Trump administration killed Charlie Kirk is the claim. Now I'm going to tell you how I feel about it, what I think about it, because you know who else would have to be involved? And this is the implication, of course, by design, and you can see the response with people out there.
So you get the idea. I'm not going to relitigate the whole thing, but again, like, it's ambiguous enough where she'll be like, oh, I didn't specifically say Trump was involved. I just said Charlie Kirk gave so much of his life to Trump and to politics, and they killed him. But I didn't mean Trump. And you can understand then, like, why this is such a gift to the left. But someone sent me that clip this morning because I was saying, I don't know who's just, I mean, just a reasonable interpretation of what she said there was the Trump administration killed him. So we can talk about that stuff if you want. A couple other stories, and of course we could talk about whatever you want. There's a lot of economic news that's coming out. The trade deficit came in lower than expected, basically $5 billion lower than expected. I believe the best data for that since June of 2020, also when Trump was in office. Now, it is worth saying all the criticism I've done of Trump, which a lot of it's warranted, when it comes to his economics, my interpretation of this was always that his tariff plan was risky, and I was on the fence about it. The upside was that we need to try something, that manufacturing's been hollowed out in the United States, and it's not sustainable. We cannot continue to operate in this system where we rely on the countries that are our biggest geopolitical rivals for necessities in things like healthcare, and things like ammunition, weaponry, and a bunch of other stuff. Materials necessary for infrastructure, materials necessary for electronics. We can't rely on China and other countries for this stuff that are supposedly our adversaries. The middle class has been hollowed out. Places like where I live, towns are dying because it used to be blue collar working. That was your way into the middle class. You worked at a factory, you worked at a steel mill, something like that, and it's dying. The United States was head and shoulders the world superpower, and the leaders of this country sold out the people of this country to enrich themselves and people around the world. And it's not sustainable. It's not. So I thought some radical change needed to happen. That certainly wouldn't have happened under Kamala Harris. The tariff plan was risky. The truth is, just because you recognize a problem and you say we have to do something, that doesn't mean that your solution can't make things worse. It certainly can. So, the way I saw it was Trump's tariff plan could bring in revenues, and it could bring manufacturing back to the United States by convincing companies that wanted to avoid the tariffs to build things in the United States. But that's long term. In the short term, it seemed like there would be some economic pain, particularly through inflation. We haven't really seen it. I'm sort of shocked. I assumed inflation would be much worse. I thought that right around 3 months before the midterms, you'd start to see the economic benefits. You'd start to see a lot of the pain, that the short-term pain that would be caused by Trump's economic policies would start to turn around. But I'm not seeing a lot of the short-term pain. And without getting into the specifics, instead what I'm seeing is Democrats trying their damnedest to point to short-term pain and failing. And seeing as how so many prominent Democrats are pointing to obvious bullshit, it makes me believe that they just don't have the goods. Here's an article from Zero Hedge. Another attempted gotcha moment on X by Democrats backfired, revealing their political strategist and whoever handles their social media accounts lacks the most basic chart reading skills. The account for Senate Majority PAC, which focused on supporting left-wing Senate elections, posted 4 decades of USDA average beef prices charts, trying to pin it on Trump. Here it is. Let's be honest for a second. Republicans don't care about the price of beef because they don't answer to working Americans. And it's true. Look at the price of beef. Look how much it's gone up since 2010. 3 times. 3 times more expensive. Crazy. Of course, the problem is the majority happened under the Biden administration. Here's the percent that ground beef has gone up. 8% under Reagan, 12% under the first Bush, 8% under Clinton, 39% under the second Bush, pretty bad, 51% under Obama, 12% under the first Trump, 40% under Joe Biden. But it gets better. It's not the first chart the Democrats have either misread or tried to deceive the public with. Kyle Bass, founder and chief investment officer of Heyman Capital Management, recently pointed out another propaganda blunder by the Democratic Party. Here's Amy Klobuchar. Under President Trump, electricity prices are surging, up 11%, leaving millions behind their utility bills, with past due balances at all-time highs. American families deserve better. Wow, that's terrible. Absolutely terrible. In 2022, Americans were paying $600 for their average utilities. Now they're paying $789. Here's the real chart. This is grocery prices. Sorry, I skipped the electric. You can see here, Joe Biden was president from January 20th, 2021 to January 20th, 2025. Also, this chart's not representing the cost of electricity. It's showing the average past due balances of Americans, which soared since 2022 under the Biden presidency. Now, we're going to get to call-ins here in a second, but this is something that I tell you quite frequently. The Democrats don't give a shit about the economy, and in fact, they are outraged that you do. I've criticized Trump heavily. I think he's been far better for the economy than the Biden administration was. However, his messaging on it was worthy of criticism. I'll hear no more about the affordability crisis, he said. Greatest economy ever, etc., etc. No, that is not the answer. That's not the answer. That's bullshit. It's the same mistake that the Biden administration was making. Only things were getting much worse under Biden. The problem is, Trump's stopped the bleeding, but he hasn't healed the body. The body's still weak. Yes, we're not bleeding as much anymore. We stopped the mass inflation, the real wage growth being negative. We stopped that, but people are still suffering from the Biden years. And he needs to be messaging that. The Biden administration, remember, not just the left-wing influencers that I debate, etc., but the official Democrat accounts within 3 days of Trump being elected president was commenting on how high the price of eggs were and how that was Trump's fault. 3 days into his presidency. Now, what did I tell you about that? It showed two things. One, it showed that they ignored the price of eggs under the Trump administration, or under the Biden administration, which is why they went up. And second, it showed that they fucking hate you for not ignoring it. They knew that Trump's not to blame for the price of eggs going up in 3 days. They knew it. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. Even people that don't follow politics. If you were like, wow, it's January 23rd, 2025. Trump's been in office 3 days. Look at that. The price of eggs is high. The average person, I think it's Trump's fault. The average person would be like, wait, what? How the fuck did Trump raise the price of eggs in 3 days? Did he have some sort of executive order about this? No. So then what's the claim here? The reason they brought this up, let me put my Democrat glasses on and tell you what that was about. You ready? Oh, all right. So we lost the election. And one of the reasons we lost the election was because of the economy. Because people are too stupid to realize that that's just the way the economy goes. None of it was Joe Biden's fault. But they're insistent. Oh, look at inflation. Look at how bad it is. He was just trying to correct Trump's mistakes. That's why inflation was so bad. And he was doing awesome. The economy was doing awesome. And besides, the truth is inflation wasn't that bad anyways. People could live with it. But fine, great. If that's what you want to do, blame Joe Biden for the inflation under his 4 years. Oh, look, it's been 3 days. Let's blame Trump. You see? Do you see how dumb that is? Focusing on things like this? That's what they were doing. They were pissed off that you didn't give them 4 more years after they had mass inflation under them. They thought you were an asshole. So they're like, fine, then we're going to be like, oh, look, we're on day 2. Look at the price increases. And they can't stop doing it. Not just random people, but Democrat politicians, Democrat super PAC groups, etc. continue to put out charts showing how expensive shit are and say, see, look at this, it's Trump's fault. And you could see that all the increases happened under Biden, or the vast majority of them. They don't give a fuck. They did not care about those increases under Biden. And they think you're an asshole for caring about it. Well, if you really cared about the price increases under Biden, then why aren't you pissed off that Trump hasn't dropped it? Yes, I wish Trump would do more. But in this binary system, if I have to choose between the administration that massively increases prices 21% across the board and the one that stopped it to where it's basically going up 2.5 to 3%, I'm going to choose the latter. And the contempt you have for the people that saw this and was like, I don't know how many times I said it under the Biden administration. What the fuck is the Biden team doing? Why can't they even bullshit about this correctly? All they had to do was say, you're right, inflation's out of control. It's not our fault. It's Trump's fault. Instead, they were out there like, nah, it's transitory. Nah, it's the strongest economy ever, Jack. We're doing better than the rest of the world. Okay. The Putin price hike, yeah. And then a couple more things on this story. I do apologize. I promise we'll get to the Collins. This is one of Trump's top economic advisors. Now, you remember how I said that what the Trump team needs to do is do two things. One, they need to be coming out saying, yes, you're absolutely right. The economy is not working for an awful lot of people. We get it. We've been left a mess. And then say, but second, here's the things we have done and will be doing. Instead of having Trump saying things like, I'll no longer hear about an affordability crisis. Here's one of Trump's top economic advisors has it today.
President Trump got it exactly right. I thought his speech last night was fantastic. And he really, really enjoyed having the charts again. I can tell you that that's some feedback we got from yesterday, because the bottom line is that the Democrats are out there saying things that are false, and like they're not holding up charts telling you what's going on. But, you know, we have a chart that showed that the typical family buying a new home saw their mortgage rate go up at an annual rate by $14,000 because of Biden's inflation and the high interest rates that followed from it. And so, you know, people who have to pay $14,000 a year more just to have their home, of course, they were harmed a lot by Biden. But already, because we've been getting closer to a balanced budget and leading interest rates down even before we control the Fed more, that we've saved a couple $1,000s of that $14,000 already. So we're making great progress. We made huge progress in the last term. And right now, all of the indicators are that the 3% growth that we gave you last time is a really, really low ball estimate of what we're going to be able to deliver, because we've got the AI boom making productivity go through the roof. We've got 18 trillion in new factories being built. We're actually tracking the groundbreakings. We're up to about 30 of them since September. And so the economy is booming, jobs are growing, but people were absolutely harmed. And so again, and the president went through every single price of everything in the charts, and he did a lot of it last night. You know, the bottom line is that if you were just a typical family, your month's groceries cost $400 when President Trump left office, and it cost almost $550 when Joe Biden left office. So that extra $150 a month, after paying also $14,000 more a year for your mortgage, it really adds up to a lot of stuff that has to be fixed. Final thing on this is that real wages are growing again.
That's right.
And so purchasing power is up. It was down about $3,000 on average, not counting the House part for Biden, and it's already up about $1,200.
I've quoted you many.
Now that's so much better of a message. So much better. Yes, people were struggling because of Biden. Here's the things we've done. It's going to get better too. Do you see the difference in the messaging? Even that's not perfect. I would be out there, if I was this guy, I would be saying those sorts of things, but I'd be like, listen, I want to speak to every American out there. I absolutely understand that you're struggling. So many of you are struggling. And yes, I know that our team's in charge, and you're like, I need more help. And we are trying. The Democrats refuse to do anything legislatively to help us. Trump's trying his best through executive fiat to do everything he can, and we're already seeing positive results. But make no mistake, we are in this hole because of the disastrous policies of the Democrats for 4 years under the Biden administration. And it will take time to dig us out. So please, bear with us. I know it's so hard to say. It's easy for me to say that. I'm not the person who can't afford to buy a house. I'm not the person who has to make decisions between getting my medications for the week or getting groceries. It's horrible that in our country we have this, thanks to the disastrous policies of the Democrat. But we're doing so much to focus on this. The president hears you, and he is hyper-focused on issuing these policies that's going to encourage growth, that's going to balance the budget. We already see real wage growth increasing. We see that a lot of this inflation, the first step was to stop the bleeding. We've done that. We don't see inflation going up like it was under the Biden administration. And yes, there's more work to be done. And will we be perfect? No. But the answer is not to throw your support back for the very people that led to this crisis in the first place. That's the messaging. You don't treat people like shit that are struggling. And there was one other comment that I wanted to show. Where's that at? I think it's this one. Just from CNBC. Just talking about the deficit from today. And then Collins after this.
Minus 52.8 billion. That's a better, lower trade deficit than we expected. We were looking for a number closer to 62 billion, and that follows a revised minus 59 billion. Minus 52 billion would be the lightest going back to, wow, we're really going back. Well, my records go back to 1992, and to find a smaller number than minus 52 billion, we're all the way back to June of 2020. 236,000 is initial jobless claims. So the 191 minus 52.8 billion.
This is another claim that we were going to see because of inflation, we'd have lack of productivity, or because of tariffs, we'd have lack of productivity in the United States, which would cause increased trade deficits. It's not true. We are seeing those deficits lower under the Trump administration. So I'm not saying Trump's doing everything perfect, but the economic data is worlds better than it was under the Biden administration. So, all right, let's put the calls out there. We got until 2:30, so we got about an hour and 45 minutes of calls. A couple more. I'll put the link out there, and then we'll read a couple more super chats.
Super chats.
Yeah. Let's see. I gotta do this. I gotta pin this to the top.
My favorite part about the call-in is I get to hear the bloop, bloop, bloop as they pile in.
It is a neat sound. All right, there we go. A couple more super chats.
Before we get into super chats, wait, hold on, Rob. Before we get into super chats, make sure y'all, we got hats coming.
Yeah,
make sure, and we got shirts. He failed to grift while I was gone, so it made me look like this.
Jake, no.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, we had a guy while I was away saying that $357 was unreasonable. Did you know that?
Yeah, 2 days ago.
2 days ago, while I was gone, he said, "Yeah, that Austin Hall guy.
What a scoundrel!
Scoundrel. Let's prove them wrong. All right, let's get those donos in and provide a healthy lifestyle for your favorite entertainer, Normal America and robnoerr.
Thank you.
If not, we're gonna blame EOD.
Yes, of course. Thanks, man. How long, Nate? $5 says, let's get it with Bubba Avarice. Like the streamer, you may be a pillow biter. Yeah.
That was below the belt, Nate.
Yeah. Airborne Animal, $10 says, Candace is acting like a jilted ex. I feel like she thought she should have been married to Charlie and should be running Turning Point USA now. So she's trying to play the victim to get time and attention. It could be. And Nate Tripp, thank you so much for the $5. Really appreciate it. So, all right, we'll get to the call-ins now.
To the call-in, Rosa Parks.
You got to keep it terms of service friendly. No racial slurs, no calls to violence, anything like that. we'll be talking more about some of the issues I talked about today on tonight's show. Now, you can talk about anything you want, the Candace Owens stuff. You can talk about the economic data. There's other stories that are out there that we could talk about, the Somali situation, immigration in general, whatever you want to talk about, as long as we keep it within terms of service. And remember, the sooner you call in, probably the longer you'll get to talk, because what always happens is a bunch of people in the last 15 minutes join the queue, and then I'm unable to get to everyone in that 15 minutes. So if you call in earlier and get in line, you'll have a chance to say more, which I'm perfectly fine with. I like hearing from different people, particularly people that disagree with me. So without further ado, oh, wait, one more further ado. Let me just make sure I didn't get any super chats over on Rumble. Thank you to everyone who watches me on Rumble. Really appreciate it. Continue to get those super chats in. No reason we can't shatter through our goal today. So first up, we got our good friend Sniper. What's happening today, my friend?
Hey, Rob, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How's you and your lovely family?
Doing good, doing good. I've been getting a lot of good advice from good people, including yourself and other people that are in the, I want to say profession, but, understand the circumstances. And,
Yes.
it's been going smoother, but as you know, it's a very hard downfall, but, you roll the punches.
Yeah.
And, I'm blessed every day she's still around.
Well, I'm still praying for her, man. I really am. So
I appreciate it, because we can use all the prayers we can get.
Of course. So what's on your mind today, man?
Oh man, there's so much. I was rewatching some of the past shows you had, and man, some of these people. Who was the bald guy? I forgot his name already.
Oh, Brian Shapiro.
Yeah, that guy's a dick. I don't know if I can say that, but yeah,
you can say that.
Yeah, he was. I hate when I couldn't even be up to your standards for debate, even just talking in general. I'm still taking speech therapy classes for my TBI from 15 years ago. But in regards to whenever I see a debate with you or someone else, it always comes down to personal insults with these people. They have to attack either they have nothing to go on, so they attack your weight, for example, or just something stupid, the color of your hat, and they try to make a big deal about it. It's pretty pathetic, man.
Yeah, I mean, usually, so there's obviously this isn't going to be a great answer. Maybe people won't like to hear this. There's a little bit of a flow. What's Trump call it? The weave, right? There's some of that comes to streaming. There's certain people that you just get a rapport with, even if you disagree, that you could do the insults and stuff, but it flows naturally. And you're doing it in the context of you're still making arguments. So, for example, when I debate Destiny, if he makes it personal and says something about me being fat, I might say something effective like, why don't you stop your jaw moving for a second and let's get to this next argument, right? And it's it's not super below the belt. It's shit that's like an insult, but you're still moving forward, right? But there's a difference between that and then someone that you don't really have that rapport with, and it's you're just going to have a hard break in the middle of the debate, be like, yeah, but you're fucking fat, and you work for Andrew Wilson, so you're a lapdog for him, and it's
that really...
Where did this come from?
We're
literally just talking about the
so pretty
topic.
Much if you work under anyone else, apparently you're a lapdog. Hey, you served in the military. Hey, if you're not the president of the United States, then you're a fucking lapdog. So
that's what the point I tried to make. If he works for a radio station, he claims he doesn't. Okay, but he still has to abide by FEC rules. So does that mean he's a lapdog? Well, of course not. That's absurd. Okay, how's it any different for me? My show is totally under my control. Outside the scope of my show, I also work for Andrew, doing things like debate prep, etc. It has nothing to do. I could do debate prep, or I could work through some project with Andrew in the morning and then come here in the evening and be like, here's why Andrew Wilson's a fucking idiot, and this is what he did that was stupid. I could do that. And Andrew, as long as I'm not making it personal, if I'm just saying, here's why his argument's stupid, no problem. Andrew might disagree with me. It's fine. Not an issue. In fact, I don't think that my attitude towards Andrew's changed at all since I started working for him for what I was before. If I'm talking about debates he does, I'll still say at times, hey, I think he should have done this better. But overwhelmingly, even before I worked with Andrew, I thought he was a very good debater, and he's usually on the side that I agree with, right?
Understood.
So
yeah.
I don't understand. the lapdog thing, it's so stupid. Like,
It was
you know,
like he was losing very hard with his debate, and then just to throw out random insults, it's just
yeah, it didn't really, the insults didn't really bother me either. And I think it's clear that, like, you could just see from the way he's behaving that things bothered him way more. Like, for example, he muted me and then, like, kicked me out of the studio or whatever. Okay.
Yeah,
After making the insults. All right, fine. He continued to have to talk, like, I'm bigger than you. I have bigger audience, or, you know, I have bigger guest on than you, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Then he kept bringing up Andrew. Like, you could tell that Andrew got under his skin. Then he calls into my show afterwards, and it's like still going with the personal attacks and stuff. And finally, the thing was, you know, when he said, you know, do you even have a wife or kid? Like, and they said something like, it's not that that's too outrageous, but it's like, dude, if you want to go there, that's fine. Let's talk about your woman.
Yep.
How about the woman that claims that you basically scammed her out of thousands of dollars? You want to talk about that? No? Okay, well then maybe don't broach those subjects. Don't make it personal.
Yep.
Because
Yeah,
if you
don't
want to
bring
make
up
it
if you don't wanna
personal,
go down that route.
no
Yep.
problem. You know? So I don't know. Like, for me, I was still flabbergasted by the whole thing, because the entire conversation we had was cordial leading into that debate. And the big thing that I took away from it was, I don't want to talk about ethics. I want to talk about policies like Trump bombing these Venezuelan boats. I said, fine, go back and watch the debate.
Yep.
Like, he starts off talking about, like, basically, ethically, how could you support Trump? So he brings it right back immediately to ethics. And then when you listen to the stuff, like, that's really under his craw, it's like all, like, non-policy shit. Well, E. John Carroll, and Trump there for January 6th, and Trump's cheated on his wife, and Trump was a draft dodger. And it's like, yeah, man, I thought you wanted to talk about policies, right? like this is fine. I don't mind. And what his audience won't understand is, I'm not comparing the morality of Trump to Biden per se. I understand from the perspective of a left-winger, you think that the orange man's the most evil guy in the world and he's the most moral guy ever. Fine. What I'm saying is, for the same reason you ask me, how could you support this guy because I believe he's immoral? Well, if I could show that you think that things that Joe Biden have done are immoral, but you supported him, doesn't that give you the answer? The answer is, because I thought he was better than the other guy. Right. Or, you know what? Those moral foibles are less important to me than the actual policies they're going to push. Right. Exactly. That's how I feel. I think that cheating on your spouse is... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to say, I was so happy. I could tell you were getting under your skin, man. And to me, I found that amazing, because now he's not going to be complaining about Andrew as much. He's going to be complaining about you.
That's fine.
And I could tell you're getting under his skin, especially when he was so pissed off he had to come on to your show after he kicked you off of his show, you know, because he kept on muting you and whatnot. It just what a clown. What a clown.
Yeah, I mean, and the criticism I made of him is valid. And this wasn't a criticism like about personal appearance, family, or anything like that. It was a valid criticism given the debate. It was a criticism about his debate. And he was not very willing to get in depth on any one thing. Right? Now, people have accused me of, like, you'll bring up a lot of things. But what I say is, like, I'm happy to dive deep into any of the things that I've said here. Right? And so, for example, right, when he says, like, you know, oh, the Mueller report said X, it's like, well, let's talk about the Mueller report. No, you don't really want to talk about that. Oh, Gold Star families. Okay, let's talk about Gold Star families. I don't really want to talk about that. And he does this thing, and it seems effective. It's red meat for your base, right? But, like, let's say you say this, like, I'll make a bunch of claims here right now. I'll say, you know, the Cleveland Browns are scummy, and their ownership moved them to Baltimore, and then they became the Ravens, and then they won a Super Bowl. And the Browns, you know, they pay off refs. Remember that time they paid off refs? And they have Myles Garrett that took off the helmet of Mason Rudolph and hit him on the head. You know, and they're just the scummiest. They're the scummiest ever. And you're like, whoa. Let's talk about this. You said that they paid off refs. Like, when was that? Where's your proof of that allegation? Where'd you say? And this is what he'll do. He'll go, okay, so as far as the paying off refs, there have been several reports that sort of stuff happened, and Myles Garrett did smack Mason Rudolph in the head. And my question to you is, why do you think that's something that's acceptable? And you're going to be like, wait a minute. Wait. I'm willing to talk about the Myles Garrett thing, but about this claim, Let's dive into this. This claim that they paid off refs. Again, I just wanted to talk about policy. I don't know why you're like, what is this? What is this even? That's what he does the entire time. He'll make a claim and you're like, wait, that claim's not accurate. Let's dive into that. No. Say some surface level shit. No, the claim is accurate, as has been reported in the New York Times. And here's this other thing. And it's like, I see right through it. I know what's going on. And so, as I continued, you'll see the entire time I was like, wait, let's hyper focus on this. Nope, let's move on to something else. I'm like, okay, let's focus on this. Nope, let's move on to something else. And it's like, well, that shows to me the sign of someone who's not confident in his arguments, that he knows that he's just making sort of talking points, but he hasn't delved in to sort of the things that he's talking about here. For example,
I'm very glad you held your ground.
Well, thank you.
To a lot of things, and that's one thing I like about you, Rob. You don't back down from these clowns. And,
thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's my pleasure. I like arguing, so it makes it easy,
Well, hey, it puts on a good show. At the same time, you're factual, and it pisses these lefties off. And to me, that's one of the best things in the world right now. So,
well,
just like Avarice says, not one step back. By the way, Avarice, I hate your full head of hair, man. I started losing my hair when I was in my 20s.
I didn't notice until I was like 36 that my hairline started to
I blame the Kevlar, the Kevlar helmet. That's why I blame it. I never had the right size helmet, man. I had the foam in there. It always ripped out my hair because I didn't hair to begin with. But hey, Rob, I'll let you go. And thanks again for having me up. And it's always a pleasure seeing you and listening to you.
Thank you.
Highlight of my day.
Sniper, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have gotten to know you. And we're still praying for you and your mom, man.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
I'll see you.
See ya. Another example real quick, I could think of Brian Shapiro doing this. He was like, well, Russians did hack. They hacked Facebook. And I was like, wait, what? It's the first time hearing of this. Where's that? Well, they put propaganda on there and then moves on to something else. I'm like, whoa. Buying ads on Facebook's different than hacking it. And how many ads do I don't want to talk about that. You brought it up. They do this stuff all the time. They'll bring something up and then they get pissed off when you focus on it. Now, listen, the Super Chat bar is tremendous right now. Don't get me wrong. But let's not kid ourselves. That's because our friend Jungle is giving $300. So let's get those Super Chats in. Of course, Jungle's the man. We already knew that. But next up, we have our Texas-loving friend, Level 4 Lobster. How you doing today?
Good, Rob. How are you?
Good. I was thinking of you yesterday. Our poor delivery guys. The weather's been so shit. I see them like going through this sleet and stuff. I feel terrible for them. So I'm doing well though. Like I stay in my comfy home and get stuff delivered to me. So
if it was an easy job, everyone would do it. The money is good, so don't feel too bad. Let's just fly through these real quick. Candace Owens is crap. She's just a grifter. She latches on to anything that she can and will hold on to it till it dies. She was with the black sit or whatever. Before that, she was on some liberal cause. No one cares about her. So I don't really want to talk about her. I think she's garbage, and if that pisses off someone, that's cool. Second is, let's just start Texas sucks. Let's give that by that. Third, I found a new thing that people might start a little hate for. I hate the NFL. I think it's garbage. Professional athletes getting paid to just play a game and shut the fuck up. But they choose not to, so that's their own. When I did follow NFL football, I was a Cleveland Brown fan, and it is comical that you have such disdain for the Cleveland Browns.
Now wait, that was just a hypothetical. Now let me be clear here. I, as a Steelers fan, I don't hate the Browns because the Browns are garbage. Like, in order to hate something, they have to be some sort of threat to you. And the Browns never are. They're just garbage. It's like, but I get it on the other foot, too. Like, I'm a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. Like, no one hates the Pirates because they never win. So they're like lovable losers. It's like, yeah, I don't like the Pirates that much, but I don't really hate them. Like, you think Cubs fans are focused on Pirates fans? Of course not. They're focused on the Brewers, or they're focused on the Cardinals, because those are teams that could beat them. The Pirates ain't gonna beat them, so you don't really hate them. That's how I feel about the Browns. It's like,
Well, you have a
lovable
valid
losers.
you have a valid reason though to like the Pirates. I mean, you live in the area. It's your home team. Like, I don't live in the area. I just like the Browns because they suck so bad. Like, every year is like Christmas for the Browns. They would get it. They get the best players and find a way to ruin them. So like
So I had friends that lived in Cleveland, and they had. Again, I don't follow the NFL that much, but they had a couple years ago. I don't know if they were winless or they had a huge streak where they hadn't won a game. Like, so they lost like X number of games in a row. So at the beginning of the next season, they were doing a special where everybody got they had these coolers. I think it was Budweiser. I could be wrong though, but it was one of the beer companies had these coolers at bars all around Cleveland that were locked. And when the Browns won, they would unlock it and give everyone a free beer. Like, this was this promotion. That's how shitty the Browns were. That it's like, companies could be like, fuck, we'll give away free shit if they ever win. If they ever win one game. And it was a big deal. It was like, oh, it's coming close. Maybe they'll win. Maybe you'll get our free beer. And it's like, yeah.
Well, I like them now because they're called the Browns and UPS is called the Browns. So
there you
neither
go.
here nor there. The main reason I wanted to call in the I don't know if it's an argument, but it's more of a I don't want to get something off my chest because you get so heated in your conversations. You start going in on the Republicans, and that's fine. No, I'm no fan of the Republicans, but like I understand how the government works in a way. Like, you say the Senate and the congressional Republicans aren't doing anything. And I agree they're not, but like, that's by design. Like, anything they would want to do outside of something they can fit in a bill paying for them their own paychecks just can't get done because the other side's not going to okay.
But I disagree. I could disagree for two reasons. Right?
Okay.
One, even if that's true when it comes to legislation and policy, they could be out there driving the message the correct way to try to get cultural wins or to try to get popularity and pointing this stuff out to the American people. They are not doing that. For example, on issues that they could have done that, such as the aforementioned assassination of Charlie Kirk. What did they do? Nothing. And then the other reason I disagree is when Democrats are there, they get it done. They get things like they'll shove through all the judges that Obama wants. They'll shove through all the positions that Biden wants. But the Republicans can't do that for Trump. They can't. These same Republicans will bend over backwards to cooperate with Democrats to give them what they want when it's a Democrat administration. But when it's a Trump administration, they're like, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing. So if that's the case, fine. Maybe I can absolve the Republicans at this point for anything they would need any sort of Democrat support for to get passed. Fair enough. But then I don't want to see them cooperating with Democrats when Democrats win, which they have done and will do in the future, as you know.
Well, look at the cooperation that they did under Biden. Like, it was buried into COVID relief. The Democrats, I'll give them one thing. They are really good at making the Republicans out to be the bad guy. Like, they put Republicans in positions where they can't say no and where the Republicans just do not do that. And I would agree that is a fair argument. Like, most of the Democratic policies that got pushed were put into, like, COVID relief. What was the stimulus, the stimmy checks and all that? They put it into positions where they couldn't say no.
Yeah, but again, then you still blame I'm sorry, like, we're too ineffectual to make the argument to the public isn't a defense of the Republicans. Like, I don't believe that it is that. I think that that's part of it, but I think part of it's that this is absolutely what the Republicans want. That there are key establishment people in the Republican Party that fucking hate Trump, and they want to do everything possible to make sure he can't get his agenda passed so that they could go back to the days of Mitt Romney or Paul Ryan or someone like that running the party. So if that means they sabotage shit and lose midterms, or they don't enshrine any of Trump's issues on like, they don't give a fuck about the border, prove it. Why would they care about the border? What did they ever do in the past? We saw Langford, a Republican, pushing a border bill that would have been tantamount to allowing 5,000 illegals a day in. He's a Republican, right? So this is what they want. So when Trump comes out and it's like, hey, let's secure the border, they don't want that. They don't want to repeal Obamacare. How do I know? They ran on repealing Obamacare for years, and then when they had the opportunity, they didn't do shit.
Well,
They
yeah, I just want to do.
issue.
I want to push back on here. What happened on that vote? What was the deciding thing? Who came out and decided he would make
John
it a theater?
McCain.
It wasn't the whole Republican Party. It was an individual, and that's
Right.
that's where my problem comes. Is once again, I hate that I'm defending the Republicans because I agree with you. They are trash. But like when you lump in a whole party, which is in a two-party system, it's the closest thing that represents my values. Like there's nothing else for me to choose between. And so I just worry, like what happened in England, the Tories got blamed because they didn't do anything. They were worthless. And I agree with you. But then what happened? Labor just dominated and threw them away. And then everyone, even the right, was okay with it, because it's like, well, F it. The Tories, they suck.
Okay,
Individuals suck. Individuals suck.
That's fair, right? But then look at it this way. Man, if only the Tories would have won, they would have really secured the country and stopped immigration. Oh, wait, no. No, they didn't. So we're supposed to be like, well, we shouldn't comment on that, because if we do, then Labor might win. And they might do nothing about immigration, which is exactly what the Tories are doing. But still, we can't criticize the Tories for that because Labor might be worse. So we just have to accept the shit sandwich that we're being given and don't criticize. No, the criticism allows you to understand that the real issue is the people within the Republican Party. Yes, you're right. Am I saying that every single elected Republican in the Senate or in the House is terrible? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, as a total, as a body, they have failed. It's undoubtable. And so it's your job to notice that, to call it out, to try to force them into action, and to educate yourself and primary them that are unwilling to do anything. That's the truth. And so, like, the idea that it's like, well, but they're hamstrung because of Democrats. Then you're ineffectual. Get the fuck out. Goodbye. Trump's also hamstrung because of Democrats. He's doing a bunch of shit that they said was impossible. Republican advisors told him in 2016, stop focusing on immigration. It's a losing issue. And yet, look. So now, I'm sorry. As far as I'm concerned, I do take what you're saying into consideration that, well, we don't want to criticize Republicans to the fact where Democrats end up winning. Sure, great. But how will things ever change if there's never any criticism of Republicans, because it's always perpetually, but the Democrats, so we can't call out the ineffectual Republicans that are refusing to do anything at all when it comes to sort of setting a public narrative or passing legislation. They have done nothing. I can't think of a legislative body in my lifetime that has done less of impactful shit to go along with their own party's president than this Republican administration or this Republican Congress. What have they done?
Well, you can look at Obama when Turtle decided he would just say no. And that was the same amount of stuff got done. When the other party refuses to even attempt to help, nothing gets done. And that is the way it is. I hope that in the future, we don't go back to the old Republican Party, because I agree with you. I think they're trash. I hope, I'm old enough to went through Romney, went through McCain, went through Bush, went through Bush Sr. Like, I seen what the old Republican Party was. There's no way I could have predicted that someone like Trump would come along. And you know what? Someone like Trump did come along. And maybe you are correct. And hey, we need to just keep shitting on these Republicans. But I'm not saying don't do it. All I'm saying is, for those people that are getting angry like I am at hearing just, they're worthless, they're garbage, go jump in a wood chipper. Like, there is hope that something else will come behind this. I hate being blackpilled. I refuse to be blackpilled. Not saying that's what you're doing, but that is the feeling I get personally when I hear you just
I
crap.
think you're blackpilled. I think you're blackpilled to the point where you say Republicans can never do anything as long as there's Democrats that they need, and so nothing can ever get done. That's blackpilled. That's how I feel. It's not even worth pointing out the ineffectual failings of the Republican Party, because they can never do anything because they'll always need Democrats, and Democrats will always refuse. So to me, that's black-pilled. I'm the opposite of black-pilled. I'm saying, like, we need to motivate these people to do something. What the fuck are they doing? They're going to lose the midterms. Someone like you would say, don't criticize them. The midterms will be just fine. Then they're going to get fucking crushed because they've done nothing.
Rob, I'm not saying don't criticize, and I know that's the easy out to make me look like I'm retarded. I'm not saying don't criticize, and I'm saying I was just explaining how I feel when I hear you say this, and that to let people know that yes, it does look glim, it does look crappy, it does look like the Republicans just don't give a shit, and chances are some of them do. I just want them to know that it's
how many Republicans are necessary to have judicial confirmations? Do you need Democrats for that? Nope. Simple majority. Under Biden's first year, 42 judicial confirmations. Under Trump's, 19. 19. Only 6 for the Court of Appeals, only 13 for district courts. I mean, that's abysmal. Abysmal. They're not even trying. They're not even, like, what are they doing?
Well,
I mean, okay, if you're like, well, yeah, Rob, I agree with you. They haven't got much done, but I blame the Democrats. And I agree with you, Rob. Outside the scope of that, they haven't like pushed anything to help the narrative. So then what is there to talk positively? Like, and I'm not saying you're sort of saying like, well, I want to phrase this correctly because I don't think you're like super pissed at me or anything, but you're like, I'd like to see you maybe adjust your rhetoric somewhat on this. So what am I supposed to do? If you're saying that you're not saying don't criticize them, okay, so you're good with me criticizing them. So what exactly am I doing that's the problem then? You see what I mean? Like, it's once you say, yeah, you could criticize them, okay, that's what I'm doing. I'm not saying never vote for Republicans. I'm not saying, like Nick Fuentes, don't vote for Trump or any of that shit. I didn't say that.
Well, okay, so I definitely didn't want this to go this way. No,
it's all right.
I'm not trying to tell you how to do anything. You do however you want. I'm making a suggestion that I'm breaking up. You can let me go. We can do this later.
I hear you now. Oh, maybe
if you hear me now, I hope you do. I'll just bounce. Thank you for your time, Rob. I appreciate it. You have a wonderful day.
Yep. Thanks, Lobster. I see what Lobster's saying, right? That, like, I guess if I can still man his position, fine, criticize them, but maybe you should also tell your audience, but this is because Democrats suck. I disagree, though, with Lobster totally on this. I could not disagree with him more vehemently. The Republicans fucking suck. They're fucking garbage as a total unit. There are key people in the Republican Party that fucking hate Trump and want to sabotage his agenda. And it has nothing to do whatsoever with needing the Democrats. If the filibuster was ended tomorrow and all you needed in the Senate was 50 votes, you would still not get any of the key things that Trump has shrined in executive order to Republicans in the Senate to be able to pass. And if his argument is, but that's because there's a handful of bad Republicans, fine, I don't give a shit. As a body, they fucking suck and they're ineffectual. If that's the case, if there are 4 or 5 key Republicans that are avoiding being able to do this, then every other Republican ought to be out there like, this person fucking sucks. Get them out of here. Primary this motherfucker. Because of this person, we can't get our agenda. Then that's what you do. So, that's my feelings on it. But I understand what Lobster's saying. It does have the effect that people could say, like, well, then I might as well vote for Democrats or I might as well not vote. That's not what I'm suggesting at all, But I am very passionate on the fact that we ought to call out the shitty, ineffectual, corrupt, or incompetent politicians, including on our side. And, like, the idea of being like, well, they could never do anything ever. Because they need Democrats, so they can't even do things like go on television and say, we wanted to pass this law that the people want. We wanted to pass laws about deportations, but we can't because the Democrats. And yet they're not doing that. We wanted to pass laws that say that no mail-in voting, but we can't because the Democrats. No, they're not doing that. They can't even go out there and push the narrative about Republicans being killed like Charlie Kirk. They can't do that. It's a disingenuous argument to conflate the monstrous neocons with conservative Christians who are actual Republicans. It's like the thing with rhinos. Of course they are easy targets. I don't know what to say. I guess I don't know what you're really trying to say here. This is the mentality. Let me push back on this mentality. You know how many people I hear say this? Man, fucking Congress sucks. They suck. They don't do anything. My guy's really good, though. And then the next person from the next district over goes, man, I fucking hate Congress. They're terrible. My guy's good, though. And then the next person says, man, fucking Congress. But my guy's good, though. How can that be? If everyone thinks that Congress sucks, how could it be that everyone, when they're hyper-focused on their specific congressman, says, but they're good. They're good. At some point, we have to say, I mean, this is the same argument I had with this guy, Don McClure, not about elected officials, but about the people that run the Republican Party here in Pennsylvania. 2022 was supposed to be a big red wave, and it fucking blew. The Republicans in Pennsylvania helped make great decisions that led to Dr. Oz, their Senate candidate, losing to a man who couldn't even speak in John Fetterman, who had a stroke. And they lost. Convincingly. They lost convincingly. They lost the governorship. They got their ass kicked in a time when we were supposed to have a red wave. So when I'm out there like, there needs to be a change of leadership. Something needs to change in the Republican Party in Pennsylvania. What I was told by everyone involved in politics in Pennsylvania is, how dare you? Even if you're right that there were losses, every individual that you could point to is a good guy, 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 a good girl, a good guy, a good guy, a good girl. How can we change anyone? They're all good. No, they're not good. The results suck. Something needs to change. Yeah, but each individual's good. So what can we do? There's nothing we can do. My entire thing of running for Congress was the exact opposite of what Lobster seems to be suggesting there. I literally ran for Congress and got to give a speech where I got a standing ovation that said, we are tired of sending you Republicans to represent us, fucking blue-collar rednecks. We send you to D.C., you do nothing. And we're tired of it. And so we're going to come for your fucking jobs. That's what we're going to do. If you don't care about us and our jobs, then we're going to run and win your jobs. But I suppose I could have said, well, there's nothing you guys could do. What can we expect of you? Democrats will hamstring everything you do. And a few key bad Republicans. So you guys keep doing you, man. Keep it up. My bad. Shouldn't have ran. Big mistake. I mean, and I know Lobster would be like, that's not what I'm saying. But I don't know what he is saying. I don't. It is a loser defeatist mentality to say that we should just throw up our arms and say, there's nothing we could ever do. We can't even make public messaging because Democrats, oh boy. I mean, is there any competitive activity in the world where that mentality makes you better? Any? Well, we couldn't win that game because of the refs. So you can't blame us. It's like, yeah, even if the refs sucked, you say, okay, but you still got to move forward doing the best you can. I don't get it. I don't get that mentality at all. I mean, if the point's just don't forget to remind people that Democrats suck. Yeah, Democrats suck. I think I do that quite frequently. I don't know. All right. Anyways, keep getting those super chats. Nonetheless, Lobster is awesome. One of my favorite people to talk to. So I do appreciate his calling, even if I disagree with him on that point. And I don't even know how much disagreement there is. It's more of like a stylistic choice. So, all right. Keep getting those super chats in. Next, we got our good friend Bell Factor. What's happening, Bell?
Hey, Rob. Yeah, I wanted to talk about two main things, mostly Brian Shapiro and some topics you went over last night. Some interesting things from the debate, not from the debate on Tuesday was I feel like he's like crap. Yeah, like the way he thought that was going to go is the way how his call-ins go, where the person calls in, they're MAGA, and they don't really have all the facts in. They just sort of have the basic talking points, and then he's able to steamroll them. Because, like, for example, the stuff about the Hunter Biden laptop, even for me, and I'll fully admit, like, I wasn't super informed on that before I watched. For me, the story is the Hunter Biden laptop would have hurt the Democrats in the 2020 election, and they censored it. That's basically the beginning and end of it for me. But then, I'm going to be honest, if I called into a show any of those times, I wouldn't have been able to rebuke that the way you did.
Well, on that point, the reason I brought that up was coming from the Ashley Biden diary, because he was doing the same thing. I'd never seen anyone do this with the Ashley Biden diary, but it was the exact same thing they did with the Hunter Biden laptop, which was there's a bunch of stuff in there that they don't like that looks bad for them. So what they say is, but Republicans got their hand on it. So maybe the Republicans inserted this stuff and it wasn't really said, right? And so therefore, any evidence that you ever get that shows any sort of corruption for any Democrat ever, if a Republican had their hands on the evidence, it doesn't even matter if Ashley Biden comes out and says, yeah, that's my diary. I'm very embarrassed by the things that were leaked publicly. This guy will still say, nope, the fact that a Republican had their hands on it proves that I refuse to believe that this is accurate unless Ashley Biden says that specific sentence I wrote and that specific sentence I wrote. Even if she says, yes, that's my diary, and doesn't dispute the things that were then, I still refuse to accept it. They did the same with the Hunter Biden laptop. We had these emails and they were like, for all we know, Rudy Giuliani messed with the metadata and these emails and stuff that are being made public. For all we know, those were inserted by Rudy Giuliani. We can't trust anything. And it's like, we actually have the business associates like Tony Bobolinsky that was on the other end of receiving these emails saying, yes, these emails are accurate. I also have them on my servers. I have them. And still the Democrats were like, nope, we don't know. And it's like, what do you mean you don't know? Then have Hunter Biden testify under oath. And it turns out it was all true. Hunter just made this like very vague. Some of the stuff out there isn't true that's on it. Okay, what specifically? And the things like, I don't care about the dick pics. I don't care about the sex stuff. It's never what I focused on. Like when he's talking about working with the spy chief of China, when they're talking about 10% going to the big guy. No one ever disputed that. And yet Democrats are like, oh no, that Rudy Giuliani had his hands on that. So it might be, imagine if I said the same thing. By the way, how do Democrats have that belief that an actual physical copy data in the form of a diary or a laptop hard drive, that we can't trust it if a Republican ever touched their hands, but they believe the fucking Steele dossier that was written and paid for by Democrats. But they don't say, Democrats had their hands on it, they touched it, so we don't believe it. Of course not. They're like, yes. So it just goes to show the ridiculous double standard. But yeah, you could get away with that because that's impressive to his audience. Like to his audience, like imagine the power that has. Like two things that are very simple. One, anytime Republicans put hands on anything, you could say, nope, we could dispense with all of that because they may have put lies in there. So we refuse to address any of that. And as long as there wasn't a conviction or a charge brought by the FBI, then there's nothing to see here. So when I'm like, we have whistleblowers saying that the FBI and leadership were protecting the Bidens, right? And here's the evidence they put forth. All he has to do is say, Republicans talked about that, so we don't believe it. And why weren't there charges? There weren't charges, nothing to see here. Next. And his audience is going to eat that shit up. Yep, makes sense. So anytime that think of that. Anytime that you ever had any sort of government corruption, it would literally be impossible for someone like Brian or his audience to ever do anything about it because they would say, clearly there can't be corruption because if there was a corruption, someone would have went to jail. And no one went to jail, so it can't be corrupt. And you're like, yes, but we're saying that the people in charge are corrupt. Henceforth, they're not going to jail themselves. But nonetheless, they haven't been jailed, so therefore they're not corrupt. And it's like the absurdity of that. So all you have to, and that allows you to just be a very surface level talker, right? Because all you have to say is like, did anybody go to jail? No? Okay. And then you can see how he didn't like when I turned it on him. Did Trump go to jail for an insurrection, for inciting it? No. Did anybody go to jail for an insurrection? Well, I don't know why the term matters. It's different now, right? Like, and so, yeah, it's frustrating. And you're right. He relies on the fact that people just have a surface level understanding it like him. And so you're able to steamroll him with a couple of these, like, sort of, bullshit tactics that don't really show any understanding. For example, the best examples, like, Trump got convicted of 37 felonies. Really? You want to talk about that court case? And they don't. They're fine with the double standard. They're fine with it. Right? Yeah. They don't care. Meanwhile, if the Republicans would grow some balls and they'd start charging Democrats left and right, and we tried to make that argument, you think that'd fly for a second? Right? Do you think if, like, all of a sudden it was like, well, this Democrat got convicted, so that proves that they're corrupt. And I don't see Trump wasn't charged with this thing. Trump wasn't, but Democrats are being convicted now. They're going to say, these investigations are bullshit. Trump's politically targeting people. This is bullshit. We don't trust these charges. That's what they'll say. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's all a joke,
Yeah, and I super chatted this on Tuesday, but my favorite of the double standards is the liberals conceded. Please hold this illegal FISA warrant.
Yep, I agree with you. That's one of my favorite things. I mean, it is a criticism you could make of Trump, right? Where Trump doesn't know that you could be a dirty, unethical schmuck as long as you say the right things. Right.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's that Republicans tend to have really, really poor tact, whereas Democrats are a lot more covert with their corruption. It's like, and it won't even be necessarily corruption, but just something controversial. The Republicans will just admit that they're doing it.
Let me give you the. I'll give you a layman
deniability.
I'll give you a layman example of how this would work. Let's say that you have an up and coming like thug, right? And he's up and coming. It doesn't even have to be a thug, right? And this guy says like, "Hey man, I'm gonna beat your fucking ass if you don't." In fact, let's use an actual example. Let's say that you start a store. A street market, you're selling fruit in the store, and you go and you get a legal permit and all this shit, right? And then someone moves right into your territory and they grease some wheels or something. And you go up to them, you're like, hey man, you're taking food out of my kids' mouths. What are you doing? Like, I paid the permits and everything. What are you doing? And they're like, oh, well, I don't really give a shit about that. And you're like, man, I'll beat your ass. You go to jail. You just made a threat. Okay. And what the mafia would do would say, it'll be a shame if something happens to your cart.
Yeah.
And the Democrats would be like, oh, see, they didn't do anything wrong. They were sticking up for the man. They said it would be a shame. See? So they didn't do anything wrong. And it's like, yeah, but the first guy didn't do anything. And then we see with the second guy that the mafia was threatening, the cart did get blown up. But it couldn't have been the mafia because they said it would be a shame. They felt bad that something happened, you see? So they know how to say the right things. They know how to put it in ways that it's like, oh, okay. Like, for example, Dr. Fauci knows how to choose his words specifically and say, actually, I didn't lie under oath because the way I define gain of function is this very unique way. Whereas Trump, who's more speaking off the hip, he'll just say something. No, we didn't do any funding whatsoever, of any coronaviruses. Yes, you did. See, you lied. Right, where it's Fauci, it's like, clearly you did gain of function. No, because notice the exact words I chose. Or with the Hunter Biden laptop. You see, Rob, it's not that 51 former Intel officials lied because they never said that the laptop was Russian disinformation. They said it has the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. And technically that's true. And so you see, it's like the career criminals here, the fucking career corrupt people in the institutions, they know how to cover their tracks. They know how to parse their words. So they can say things like, yeah, I concede the election, and then come out afterwards and say, I think the election was stolen from me. As long as you said that one day, I concede it. And then you could proceed with sending evidence to help with the illegal spying on your opponent and sabotaging him for the next 4 years. That's not conceding. we used to have to watch this video in this one training I did for my old job. And they would make you watch this speech. I forget the gentleman's name, but he was on Oprah's show. An interesting story. It was this guy who was a professor, and he was dying. He had some terminal illness, and he looked remarkably healthy, but he's dying. And he ended up dying like 2 months after this. And he gives a speech on what he calls the hypothetical last lecture. And he's like, professors always talk about, what would you do if you had one lecture left to give, your last one that you'd want to be remembered for? What would you do? And he's like, I don't have to ask that because I know it, because I know I'm going to be dead in 2 months. And so he gives this lecture. And part of what he says is, what makes an apology? And I forget the parts he says, but it's like, you have to say, I'm sorry, and mean it. You have to say what you're sorry about. And you have to say, what can I do to make it better? Right? In effect, this is what, like, the same with, like, the concession. If you just say, I'm sorry, like, if I slap you in the face, Val, right, and I say, hey, man, I'm sorry, and you're like, oh, okay, apology accepted, and then I slap you in the face again the next day, no one's going to be like, but Rob said he was sorry. He said he was sorry. It's like, yeah, but clearly he wasn't. If he was sorry, he wouldn't have done it again immediately. His actions belie the cheap words that he said. It's the same with Hillary's concession. Right? But as long as she said the words, I concede, then everyone's like, there you go. She conceded. That's that. Meanwhile, it's the reason you have to say I concede, because perish the thought. What if a bunch of people thought that she actually won? That's why Trump needed to say he conceded, because he didn't, then so many people thought that Trump actually won. Okay, but 50-something% of Democrats in 2018 still believe that Russia hacked voting machines to stop Hillary Clinton. Was she out there saying, no, this is bullshit? Of course not. So you're absolutely right, and you're very shrewd to pick that up. To me, it's one of the things that's always stuck with me as well. It's like, if Trump, I used to say to this all the time, let's rewrite history and say in 2020, instead of having Trump not concede, he would have said, I concede, but then used a dossier paid for by his team to send to his FBI agents that would then illegally spy on Hillary and release shit, or Biden, and release shit about him for the next 4 years. Would that have been better? Wow, he said he conceded, so no problems there. And by the way, it's the same thing you can see with Brian Shapiro, that whole debate. Trump saying these were patriots January 6th, that's unforgivable. Instead, if he would have just promoted a bail fund for them, that would have been totally acceptable. Bullshit.
Yeah, and the specific example you used was if he supported a bail fund for a KKK member, which I thought was extra. I thought was extra suspicious of him, like not.
Yes, of course, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just blatantly bad faith. It's blatantly bad faith. Like, yes, on the macro scale, I agree. Bail, if we have laws that allow bail, they should be accessible to basically every category of people, even people that I massively disagree with. So if we have bail laws that say, listen, we already know we have a jury system, you're innocent until proven guilty, and if the bail system says you're accused of burglary, and here's the standards of which we're allowed to offer bail, even if it's some lefty that broke into some righty's house, yeah, they should be allowed to use that bail process. And that's what he's trying to imply. Oh, so when Kamala promoted this. But no, that's not what we're talking about. We're saying that if someone provides the bail money, that clearly shows that they have an interest in those specific people that they provided bail to. Unless they're just randomly giving bail money to all sorts of people, which clearly isn't the case with Kamala Harris. She promoted a bail fund specifically about these people that were rioting and burning down buildings. That's what she did. While the riots were ongoing, that's what she did. And to make the argument like that doesn't suggest that she's saying anything about these people other than she thinks bail's important for everyone is so disingenuous, it's ridiculous. And it goes back to the old, I'll bring it up, old reliable, right? It goes back to this. So much of arguing with leftist discourse is just them pretending to not understand things, thus making discourse impossible. It's literally, that's what he's doing. He's playing out in real time. What do you mean if someone bailed out, if Donald Trump spent every day being like, and here's more bail money for this white supremacist, and here's bail money for this white supremacist. Yep. Hey, everybody, go to this white supremacist bail fund. Yep, support it. And this dude's trying to say, like, no, I wouldn't see a problem with that. I would say, yep, that's perfectly reasonable. I'm not going to say that says anything about Trump. He knows it's bullshit. I know it's bullshit. Everybody watching knows it's bullshit. He's just pretending. And it's so frustrating because it's like, just admit the truth. There's so many actual criticisms of Trump. Why can't you admit that? And because these people, for them, it's not about having honest discourse. It's about fucking, winning an argument. And of course, he did a very bad job of that. And so I find myself in these situations all the time where the same people that'll sit there and tell you with absolute certainty that they know what Trump's thinking, shit like, you could say the simplest thing to them. I don't think you'd be happy if someone punched your child in the face. You don't know that about me. You don't know that. You don't know that at all. How dare you assume I would be upset? You're technically right. Yes, technically. I guess I don't know. Technically, there could be some lunatic out there that's happy with the fact that someone would punch their child in the face. But I'm assuming, based on common sense and logic, that that's bullshit. And given the circumstantial evidence that I can see that you're really pissed off that Trump even said anything that was remotely positive about people on January 6th, I'm betting you would have been pissed off if he pushed a bail fund for them. And you saying that, no, I'm sorry, I'm so tired of this, it's fucking disingenuous. It's disingenuous. And if you're right, that you're the type of person that's okay with promoting a bail fund, but not okay with saying nice words, then I guess that you're so fucking outside the scope of normal discourse that it's impossible to have a conversation with you anyways.
Yes. And sorry, I got to cut it short, Rob. But thanks again for the show. Thanks again for having me on.
Thank you. Always appreciate it, man. Thank you. All right, we got about 50 minutes left. I noticed the dono bar hasn't moved in a hot minute. So let's get those in. The dono bar. Notice how the opposite works. Real quick, I'll just say. Like, I remember debating a lefty one time, and they were like, well, how would you feel if, in 2016 election, Joe Biden's the vice president, Obama's the president at the time, and Trump beats Hillary? How would you feel if Joe Biden was like, actually, we're going to approve this alternate slate of electors? How would you feel? I think you would have been pissed off, someone said to me. Now imagine I would have went the lefty tactic. You don't know that about me. You don't know I would have been pissed off. You don't know. There's no proof of that. I wouldn't have been pissed off. I said, yes, you're absolutely right. I would have been enraged. Because that's the truth. Now, does that help my opponent's argument to some degree? Of course it does. But I'm just being honest. But I could have said there, no, I don't. Prove it. Prove that that's what I would think. Jess, Gerald, what are you doing working in the cold? All right. Next we got Shaky Boy, then Miggy, Logical Thoughts, then Zach. So let's get those super chats in, gentlemen. And we'll go to Shaky Boy. What's happening, man?
Hello, Rob. How you doing?
Doing very good. What's happening?
So I have a couple issues with the Republican strategy, and my concern is they're going to just do this one thing and everything else is just going to go to the wayside. My ex is just in filled with, he's going to take the tax code, remove income taxes, and I'm like, he can't do that. So he's going to get the Republicans on his side that don't like him to change and get rid of the income tax. Like, I don't see it happening.
No, Trump has vaguely suggested at some point he would like to remove the income tax, which is something I would support depending on what they would replace it with. But I'm definitely in favor of that. But there is no political capital of Trump can't do that via executive order. And there's zero evidence that Republicans would be on board en masse trying to push that legislation. So it's definitely not going to happen.
Yeah, that's kind of my concern, that they're pushing for this dream that cannot be, and then they're going to ride the code. If it, by a miracle, they do get it, they'll be able to say, hey, we changed the tax code, we changed income taxes, so therefore, now you're going to have more money. You should vote for us. And it's just like that kind of defeats the purpose of everything he's trying to get.
Well, it's fair point that you don't want to oversell. If there's a real issue that people are focused on, right, and your solution to that is some pie in the sky dream, that's going to be less effective than talking about real things that you could possibly get done, and even less effective than actually doing real things. Talking about things is always less effective than actually doing them. So, yes, like, for example, Trump's teams out there, they are doing things that it looks like are going to be enshrined that will benefit people. No tax on tips, lowering the tax, no tax on overtime. Now, I don't work at my current, at the job that I used to, but if I go back and I look at my pay stubs, I made more money in the year of 2023 on overtime than I did on regular pay because I averaged working like 70 to 80 hours a week. And so I personally, and what people, at least in Pennsylvania, the way it works is, and I think it's around, I actually get taxed at a higher rate on overtime than I do for my regular wages. So if they would have ended taxation completely on overtime, and I'm not sure that that's where Trump's plan is leading, but if they would have, I literally would have ended up with like $30,000 in my pocket, which is incredible. That would have been like a 40% gain in my household net income. Just like that. Now, that's a policy, and the no tax on tips up to a certain level. That's a policy that it's like, yeah, that's going to be money in people's pocket immediately, and that you could sell. But to say that we're going to get rid of the income tax, anybody who's remotely paying attention is like, no. But it can't be effective, I guess. I think there are better things that are more effective, like real policies that can be achievable. But look at what the left does. Mamdani just won on pie-in-the-sky bullshit that he knows never going to get passed. He knows it, but he ran on all these promises, and then he'll say, shucks, I tried, but I couldn't. So for me, it's always better. I mean, it can be effective to promise the world because we do have a shitty political system, but it's better to promise and do things that are actually achievable that make things more positive.
Yeah, just my concern is that they're trying to go for these unachievable dreams, and everything that they're seeking to attain just isn't in the realm of possibility with the current administration.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I just do not have any hope for the midterms. I think they're going to get smoked, and we're just going to be like sitting there as we have a lame duck presidency, unfortunately. And, you know, after that, what are we supposed to do? We just supposed to just like, oh, well, shoot, they got us, got to get back to the drawing board. But I'm just kind of sick of all this posturing and like, we're going to do this, and then nothing ever gets done. It's just my whole...
I couldn't agree with you more. That's exactly how I feel. And, you know, one thing you could say about the left is that they have political will, that they will actually enforce what they want and what their, you know, real constituents, not their base. They don't care about their base, but they'll actually use power. They will. They like, I mean, think about it. Think of like how far gone conservatism is, right? We're fighting tooth and nail to do things like, let's stop sending NGOs money, billions of dollars, to NGOs that hate us and that benefit the opponents, that benefit the Democrat. Let's stop doing that, right? Not let's send it to our groups. That's not the argument. It's let's just stop sending it to them. And we can't accomplish that. And then when Democrats get there, they're like, man, let's send our cronies more and more money, right? That's why I've said from the get-go that what Trump's team should have done, and I thought it was a mistake, if they say, look, you can't stop this discretionary spending. If Congress votes for $40 million to be allocated for AIDS research, AIDS prevention in Zimbabwe, you have to spend that money. Okay, then I would say, fine. Then we're going to give it to this Orthodox church group that's going to preach abstinence in Christianity. There, they get it. Or you want to lower gun violence? Fine. Then we're going to give that money to the National Rifle Association to help give lectures to people on why the Second Amendment's important and how to safely use guns. Watch how quick the Democrats would be like, you can't do that. You can't send it to these groups. Judges after judges would file injunctions. You can't do that. You can't send money to these groups. But that's exactly what the Democrats do. They have no problem. So.
Yeah, and then, you know, you had the memes going around of people just like, oh no, there's a disaster in some coastal city. better send $4.8 billion to a different state, and it's just like we are drowning over here, and the problem is that our leadership just doesn't seem to give a darn about us. Try not to curse so we don't get in
curse
trouble.
away. Don't bother me.
So my whole thing is like we're drowning in all these issues, and yet our leadership doesn't want to do diddly squat, and then send money to Ukraine, Israel, all these places that don't give a flying bridge at us. And then when we lose, we just sit there going, well, what happened? What happened? And then we have to fight tooth and nail just to get back at the Democrats. And honestly, I'm as someone who's kind of in his own problems, I'm on disability and stuff, just everything is getting so expensive. I know Trump's trying to bring it down, but I just don't see the gains yet. And I hope to see him soon. But to me, it just kind of seems like they don't actually care about the people, both sides. So.
I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. I think that the real constituents for most of them are powerful people that help run these institutions, and they don't really care about the average person, be you right wing or left wing. I think Trump's, trying to do a decent job, but he has almost no help when it comes to the Republicans in Congress. Whether that be because they're corrupt, they're incompetent, or they're hamstrung because the system's set up that they desperately need Democrats to work with them and they can't, like my friend Level 4 Lobster believes. Regardless, the result's the end. Trump's on an island, and it's hard for him to get things done on his own.
Yeah. So I think part of the issue is like in his first term, he surrounded himself by people that he just honestly shouldn't have. And then, he did some stupid things that hurt himself, not going after the things he should have. And he lost, quote unquote, the 2020 election. And, he came back with this new administration. I just think that Trump is just surrounding himself with the worst people to help him.
Yeah.
And
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. And listen, I'm sympathetic to Trump in this sense. It's so corrupt. The system's so huge and so corrupt. It's hard to change it on your own. It's hard to change it just with you have the executive branch. The courts are against you. Your aides in Congress are at best ineffectual, at worst intentionally sabotaging you. And so for one guy and his administration, just through one of the three branches in 1 year to make significant changes, yeah, it's difficult. But that doesn't mean that I can't point to mistakes he's made when it comes to people he's appointed, mistakes in his rhetoric, mistakes in the issues that he's pushed for. I'm still going to do it. But I guess the reason that I focus so much on him is what are we going to do? Where else are you going to put your hope? Where else are you going to say, well, here's positive changes that could be made as far as politics? Culture is different. There's places we can look to culture. But with politics, I suppose I could come on here every day and do a show and be like, and let's talk about what the Republicans accomplished legislatively today. Well, hey, okay, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. I guess that'll be every show for 2 years,
Yeah, just sitting there with their thumbs up our asses.
That's it too.
Just waiting for something to change. And one more point now to get out of your hair. So I couldn't give to the impending war with Venezuela. I think it's a disaster. He needs to work something out with Maduro. No one that I talk to wants to get into a war because we all see what it's actually for. It's for oil. You can spend it to say, oh, well, we're trying to stop. Venezuela has a lot of oil, and America, has that, well, whatever you want to call it, just that drive to get oil. And my concern is, with that, if we do get into a full-blown conflict, the issue is prices will probably go up anyway, and then we're just kind of even more high and dry than we currently are.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that a war is a mistake. As far as like the idea of bombing these boats and stuff, I'm up in the air about it. But I will say this. at least I guess if we have to be bombing people, I'd rather bomb people on their way to do bad stuff in the United States than bomb people halfway around the world that had no intention of coming to the United States, like we did in Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, and the list goes on and on. Yemen,
Well,
you know.
here's something I did see. It was one video on X, so anecdotal evidence. You can't really trust everything you see. But I did see a video of the boats that they're blowing up in port getting like filled up with bags of something, and they're like really big speedboats with four $35,000 engines. So I don't think that it's one of those things that it's not how do I say this? It's one of those things where I think there is bad stuff coming to the U.S. and we need to stop it. But this theater that we're making out of it is just not helping the situation. Is just what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. Well, hey, I'm going to let you go. I got some
All right.
more callers, but it's always a pleasure. Feel free to call in anytime, man. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Peace, Rome.
All right, peace. Talk soon. And yet still, the super chat bar hasn't moved. Thank goodness Jungle was here today to give $300. And those of you that have donated, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Next up, we got 40 minutes left in the show. I got 1, 2, 3 callers. So do the math. Please consider sending in some super chats. Really appreciate it. Next up, we got our friend Miggy. What's happening today, Miggy? How you doing?
Well, pretty good today. Well, I was going to give you that weather history today, so I guess I might as well do it today. So,
All right.
So 4 years ago, 4 years ago, 2021, everybody was still focused on the pandemic and all that. There was a rare but high-end tornado outbreak that occurred within the middle Mississippi River Valley. You had, I think it was like 71 tornadoes and this is in December of all times.
What year was this again?
2021.
Okay.
It was 4 years ago. And there was like 6 EF3s and 2 EF4s. One supercell in particular, they call it a quad-state supercell, had 2 long-lived EF4s. The first EF4 was the Monnet to Sandburg. It crossed 3 states. It was on the ground for 81 miles,
Holy
an hour
cow.
and 30 minutes. It was over a mile wide in width. And pretty much rated as a low-end EF4. It was known for the fact that it hit multiple towns like Monnet, where it hit a nursing home, went through Braggadocio as a EF4 into Tennessee. This was actually the most documented tornado, one of the most documented in terms of footage. You can see a tons of footage of that tornado when it was crossing through Missouri.
Wow.
On I-55. Then it dissipated for some reason. The supercell went off kilter for just about 10 minutes until it dropped the second EF4, and it was the longest track tornado of the outbreak, the Western Kentucky tornado. Some call it the Beast. It was a mile and a half wide. It was on the ground for 165 miles.
Wow.
It was rated for 190 miles per hour. Lasted for almost 3 hours. Just 3 hours of terror. And it hit multiple communities, like 11 different communities. The first one was Casey, was the first victim at EF4 in Tennessee. Well, it was definitely known when it hit Mayfield, a town of 10,000. And the center of town was hit directly with 190-mile winds.
Wow.
Yeah. And the thing about it was the worst tornado that hit the United States since Joplin. It took 57 lives and injured over 600.
That's crazy. That's really insane. And like I said, weirdly enough, maybe it has to do with the geographic locations that are most likely to be affected, but it feels like tornadoes are never as big national news, even if they're devastating as a hurricane, right? Like, now I know that's because hurricanes, it's not just about deaths, and it's not just wind destruction, but it's also the water damage and destruction, which you're not necessarily getting with tornadoes, but still, I'm vaguely aware of the tornado you're talking about. I remember seeing clips, but I never really followed up on just how devastating it was.
Well, that tornado was very devastating. Like I say, devastated Mayfield, Casey, hit the north side of Benton, hit Cambridge Shores Lake, Princeton, Dawson Springs. If you look at pictures of Dawson Springs, it looked like Joplin 2.0.
Wow.
and then went through the south through Barnsley, and then hit Bremen. Bremen was where they had the highest level of extreme damage, like trees to bark, literally down to the roots, like ground scarring up to feet up to a foot deep of ground removed from the ground.
Holy cow!
And it was and this was they also found another area with a home that was rated for 190. They said this area was likely to be EF5 intensity, but because of low quality construction, that's why they gave it a higher EF4. But they said that Bremen looked like it was an apocalypse. That's how bad it was.
This guy, James, says the Mayfield tornado basically wiped the town off the map. The candle factory it hit literally knocked the building down on top of a whole night shift, trapping them inside as people were live streaming. That's crazy.
Yeah, the candle factory was on the southwest side of Mayfield. That was the first building that was hit, and it was ready for EF4. And this is one of the bad things about tornadoes, especially this December 10th outbreak. Mayfield wasn't the only place that had the incident where a warehouse or factory was destroyed. In fact, just about an hour earlier before that, they had in Edwardsville, Illinois, from the same outbreak, they had a short-lived EF3 that destroyed an Amazon warehouse, killing 6.
Jeez.
And there was a lawsuit that was filed against Amazon, but Jeff Bezos decided to do settlements privately for everybody to shut up.
That's crazy. That's insane.
The lawsuit for the candle factory is still ongoing, despite the fact it's been 4 years, because 8 people were killed and it was 100 people that was in the factory.
Wow. I'm sure there was a lot of injuries too if it was 8 killed. That's crazy.
Yeah, the tornado caused 600 plus injuries and 57 deaths in total without its 165-mile path. And most of that because of the fact that many of the buildings within the path was low quality construction. So even when you took shelter, it wasn't enough.
Unbelievable. Well, Miggy, I got some more callers to get to. I'll be streaming all day tomorrow, and we're going to have call-ins most of the day. So feel free, man. If you want to talk about anything, call in. We'll have the link above there. But it's always a pleasure to hear from you, man.
Same here.
Thank you so much.
Not one step back.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you so much to Chop Chop for the $10 donation. Says, night shift coming to the rescue, you damn daywalkers. Oh, shots fired. Be sure to get those super. You know what I know what the problem is. There's something perceptually. Once people see that the goal's been met, it's like, it doesn't matter that one guy donated $300. It's just like, oh, the goal's met. So here's what I needed to do. Like, oh, it says the goal met. The goal's met. Oh!
Maybe you should give them some motivation too with a quick robnoerr jingle.
Okay. We could do that. Oh, man, we're only at 32% of the goal. robnoerr jingle.
robnoerr Show. It's not the
and we'll get to more callers.
Show.
Please get those donos
This is my
in.
favorite show because it is my show. If this was your show, you'd probably like it more. But maybe that's just because it was your show. But it's not your show. It's the robnoerr Show. This is the robnoerr Show. It's not the Norob Show. This is my favorite show because it is my show. If this was your show, you'd probably like it more. But maybe that's just because it was your show. But it's not your show. It's the robnoerr Show.
Oh. Thank you so much. So, all right, let's get those donos in. Next up, we got Logical Thoughts. Hopefully he lives up to the name, right? Half hour left to go on the show. What's up, Logical Thoughts? How you doing?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah. How's it going today?
It's pretty good. I'm at work, just killing time on a CNC.
What's
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Okay, I live in a small, or what used to be a small southern town. Very sleepy. No one was here. Within the last 2 years, the population has exploded. I mean, people are moving here left and right. The woods that I grew up in, hunting, the fields that used to be filled with livestock, they're gone. Nothing but houses now. My question is, does that seem intentional to you? Because places like California, New York, the places where rich people they're being destroyed, and their people are being funneled into a smaller and smaller and smaller area. Does that seem like a plan to you?
So there's two ways of looking at it. There's certainly plannings to infiltrate sort of deep red areas with people that reliably won't be red people. A lot of this is through immigration. So when you look at a lot of these like immigrant populations that came through on like special like sort of status, like refugee status, like Somalians, etc., you can see they ended up in places like Springfield, Illinois, or there were places like in Pennsylvania, Charleroi, suburb of Pittsburgh, where you had a lot of people that don't speak the language. And that's definitely intentional. There was an intentionality behind the Biden administration shipping people, particularly into communities that they knew were red areas. But it doesn't sound like that's what you're talking about. So the second point is like sort of just people that are like affluent people that are getting sick and tired of policies in blue areas that are now moving in, or that maybe they're not sick and tired of those policies, but they're moving in intentionally. I don't think it's as intentional as you may think. I think that what's happening is that these people truly believe that the left-wing ideologies that they have are great, and it's just been implemented wrong in a place like New York City, in a place like Washington, D.C., a place like Chicago. So if only we moved somewhere else and pushed the exact same type of ideology, but we had different people running the show, it'll end up great this time. And it's because they're true believers and they believe in the moral superiority of the message that they'll never see that the failures were these sorts of ideologies in the first place. The mass migration that you're allowing, the socialist policies, etc., the tax more and more and more, etc. Those are the sort of things that are leading to these disasters in the first place. And the problem is, those of us that don't live in those cities, that didn't get the benefit of living in those cities, and there's a lot of benefits to living in like these bigger cities.
Higher wages.
Higher wages is a big one, right?
Right.
Also,
now they can come here and they have the money saved up to live like kings, like people going to Mexico or something.
Correct. That's exactly.
And it destabilizes our local economies. Like our roads, we don't have the infrastructure to handle all these people all at once. So the roads are being torn to shreds. And
I totally agree. And I've seen things now in my area. This hasn't really happened, but I have seen where this has happened to smaller towns where you have a mass influx of people. Oftentimes it'll be because some unique opportunities presented. Maybe it's Amazon builds a factory, or some specific type of job opens up there. Now, a lot of times it's people that share my way of life. Like, for example, if all of a sudden
I wouldn't mind that. If it's somebody coming here because they want to adopt the Southern culture, the Southern way of life, if they want to be a Christian and go to church if you want to be a Southern person, I got no problem with that. My problem is the people who are coming here are bringing a different way of life, just like the Mexicans are when they cross the border, and they're changing our culture.
Well, it's even if you look at a place like Texas, in current trends continue, eventually Texas will be blue or it's purple when it used to be deep red. And the reason is not just because of immigration, but because you have a lot of people that are fleeing places like California. Like, look at someone like Joe Rogan. Now, I like Joe Rogan, but Joe Rogan's a liberal. He's a big city LA liberal, and he goes into Texas, and it's like, okay, he's rightfully frustrated with the sort of extent that the left-wing policies have gone, and yet he comes and he's going to make that state more liberal. He's going to make, so my understanding, I haven't been there.
He's still a Bernie bro. He's still a Bernie bro.
My understanding is that like Austin, Texas is like super liberal, right in the heart of Texas. It's super liberal. And certainly that's the same thing that you could see in small towns. So yeah, it's frustrating. There's obviously nothing legally you could do, right? But it is weird. Right. These people that have talked shit on us. I'll put it this way. I remember seeing this
Hicks,
post.
rednecks.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember seeing this post. It's not the United States, but it was France, right? And it was like, it basically was. I can't remember how this went specifically, but it just reminds me of exactly what you're saying. It was pointing to a bunch of the rural areas in France, right? And it was like, oh, all these places are like hoarding all the good land and stuff, and they just so happen to be like anti-mass migration. It's like, yeah, no shit. You guys want to flee to the areas that look good and are doing well because they're anti-mass migration. So you guys that push for the mass migration flee there and then make them shitholes. That's what you're doing.
Yes.
It's not a coincidence when we look on the map that you could line that up. The places that voted anti-immigration policies and the very places that you then want your second house to be. Because, oh, it's so beautiful there. It's a great place. No shit. Right. Exactly. And then
It just seems awful. It just seems awful convenient to me because, people love California. They love the weather. They love all of it.
Yeah, it's beautiful
But
environment.
it's so expensive.
Yep.
So only the rich are going to be able to live there. All the poors, they stay in one little area. Now the rich can have everything. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just seems a little convenient.
I don't know that it's intentional, like that the Democrats had this plan that they sit down and like, here's
You
what
think
we
it's
do.
just lucky?
I think it's
Right.
well, it's not even lucky. It makes sense. You could draw a direct line. Your place is desirable to live because the property is going to be cheap, because you could come there and you could live like a king, because the environment's probably beautiful. So, hey, I'll go there. And then the word gets out there and it's like, oh, but look at that. Look at this property that's available in this place. Really cheap. Yes. There's other people moving there. Wow, they put in a new coffee shop and shit. Look at that. There's a new art studio. That's great. And you're sitting there like, what the fuck? Coffee shop?
Right.
Art
This ain't
studio? What's this shit?
Footloose. This ain't Footloose. I don't want you to come into the town and shake it up. We're fine the way we are.
Yeah.
We don't need any of your dancing culture. It's fine. We're good.
Look, I actually have a thought on this.
That's just been a.
I actually have a thought on this logic, and I rarely come in on a call, but this is actually one I really thought would add. Here's what it is that, like, for example, for California, it's not that it's not survivable, right? It's that the rich are the only ones that can live off the check. The middle class gets pushed out, and the rest just live off the state. And then it's just
Right, so it's like an oligarchy.
People living off the state, right? And so, like, when it comes to California, you got two kinds of people with zero middle class now, because you either got the rich or you got everyone else driving off the state. And there's a lot. Like, if you go look at California, a lot off the state, and that's the problem I see.
Yeah, it's going to be the middle class moving into the South, and the rest of the country being the rich and the really poors.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, hey, Logical Thoughts, I got to get running. Thank you so much for the call, though. And, dude, I sympathize with you. These people that mocked our way of life and shit like that, and then they want to move into our area because it turns out that the communities that were created by our way of life are desirable, and the communities for the way of life that they pushed have been overrun by people that hate them and are taxing them until they're blue in the face. So it's so infuriating. I agree with you totally. So,
Thanks,
all right,
Rob.
man. You take it easy. It's great hearing from you, man. Try to have
Appreciate
a good
it,
one
man.
at work. Yep. All right. Get some more of those super chats in. Baxter Boy, $2. Thanks so much. Bail Factor, $2 says, forgive me for the abrupt exit. Good luck. Thank you. And Zach Gelpy says, Encore, Robnoerr Show. And then look, who's up? Our good friend Zach. What's happening, man?
That's Zach Gelpy, everybody. Zach Gelpy.
It's Avarice. That's Avarice. Hey, how you doing, Rob?
I'm doing great.
It's hard to follow. That was a great call, and I would expect nothing less from a machinist. Most of the men on my my mother's side are machinists, master machinists, and they're some of the smartest people out there. I'll say. So.
You know, it is. I know you probably have something else to talk about, but there is a give and take, right? Because we don't mind people coming that are creating jobs and improving, right? As long as their culture remotely fits in with us. So, for example, one of the people I was advising that was running for governor of Pennsylvania, I was like, look, he wanted to push for a zero state income tax, which is a great idea, like in Pennsylvania. And I was like, the message I would be making with that, it's like, I would be looking at big business owners and be like, look, the world's changed. This isn't the 1940s. You don't need to be in the hub of economic or political power to run a company anymore. You don't have to be right in downtown Manhattan to run a company. We're so digital now. Why can't you run a company from rural Pennsylvania. Property's cheap, it's beautiful, there's space that you could build land, and you're gonna be happy, you're not gonna pay as much in taxes, your rentals, your property is gonna be much cheaper. So on one hand, it's like, yeah, you want to encourage the people to come that could benefit the locals, right? But unfortunately, a lot of times what happens is the people that come in, they have no interest in benefiting the locals, and they're massively changing the culture in these areas, and then they'll shit up that region and then move on to the next. You
can go to Maine and see it firsthand. That's exactly what's one of the issues that's happening there. You know, people from mass holes and New Yorkers going up, especially during COVID, going up to Maine and you know, making the housing, you know, prices skyrocket and pricing out, you know, locals from buying a house or even keeping their house. Due to, you know, the taxes, because when they assess the house, they assess it to, you know, outprice people that have lived there their whole lives, and they lose their houses on property tax.
Yep, totally agree.
So yeah, no, it's a huge issue for sure. The thing I wanted to talk to you about. And listening, and I only listened to part of it because I had a call, but level 4 lobster isn't totally wrong.
I agree, yeah.
In order to pass things right now, you do need a level of cooperation with Democrats. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter, especially in the Senate. But that doesn't stop that shouldn't stop Republicans to push for these bills and push for these laws, even though they know it's not going to pass, and force the votes.
Yep.
So that you can use those votes against your enemies during the election. But they won't do that because they don't want to do shit. And this goes into my other point. I just did this website, Liberty Score. It scores, you know, on various different issues. Oklahoma, for example. James Lankford has a C, 76% rating. Jim Inhofe has 70% rating. In a ruby fucking red state. That's a fucking travesty.
Yep.
Let's go to Texas. John Cornyn. He has, let's see. He has a 54 score. He has an F. In Texas.
It's unbelievable. This has been the problem. And this is Jesse Kelly talks about this a lot. If you really want to see the problem, it's somehow counterintuitive to what you would expect. The biggest firebrands that are actually pushing conservatives are in swing states. That's where you actually see the ones that are like, wow, there's the ones that are doing stuff.
Yeah.
And they have some.
Ted Cruz, he has a B.
Right.
88%, which is pretty good.
Yes.
But why not a fucking 100%?
Yes. You have, right, like, for those of you that don't follow politics, right, let me explain this in a super layman way so you'll get this, right? Like, we have people like Murkowski or Susan Collins that are in purple areas, and we understand that if they pushed for super conservative positions, their electorate that is more liberal would not vote for them. So you have to be, this works the other way as well. When you had like West Virginia and you had Joe Manchin there, like Manchin was a Democrat, but he couldn't be a super like AOC level Democrat or Nancy Pelosi level Democrat because there's enough red people there. It would be like, nope, we don't like this guy, get him out. So you have to be middle of the road, sort of milquetoast. That's understandable in swing states. But you do have a lot of people in swing states that'll stick their head up and sometimes it causes them to lose. Like, you might push for something like, let's say you did this in Pennsylvania, right? If a Republican wins a Senate seat, or we'll say a House seat in a swing area, right? That's like 50 Republican, 50 Democrat, and he's like, I'm pushing for a complete abortion ban, they'd probably lose next time. Now, you'd say, that's conservative policy, baby. Right. But we also have other things that we want to get past, and we don't want to lose that seat. But where you don't have to worry about that's in a deep red place. There are certain... And by the way, it's not just the states, it's also the districts. Like, there are districts, even in blue states or in purple states that are overwhelmingly like there ain't going to be a Democrat win. And there are states like that where it's like these people that we're electing as senators or whatever, they ain't going to lose. Whoever the Republican nominee is going to win. So you would expect then, oh, this is going to be where your real more right-wing people are, because they don't have to worry about losing. So they could actually push, let's end Obamacare. They could push, let's be strong against abortion. They could push, let's end mail-in voting. And it's the exact opposite. These are the worst people, the least conservative Republicans. And that's the problem.
Louisiana. Bill Cassidy, F, 55%.
Yep.
John Kennedy, which I love his quips. He's great. He's great on the stump. I will give him that. His voting record, though, pretty fucking lackluster. 77%, according to this.
Well, it's something that I've talked to you
about. Just to go into detail on some of his votes. Okay. So in 2022, fund the war in Ukraine through the end of Joe Biden's term.
Yep.
He voted for that. Let's see. Repeal public transportation mask mandate. He did. He voted for that, and that was a good one. Let's see. Where's a bad vote that he has? Okay, here we go. Fund Joe Biden's progressive agenda and federal vaccine mandates through February 18th of 2022. He voted for that. Fund progressive agenda, federal vaccines, again, December 3rd. Voted for that. Yeah, he's not the worst.
But you would expect him.
But you don't want a guy like that in a ruby red state like Louisiana.
The problem is, I've talked to you about this sort of behind the scenes and a little bit on the show here, where it's like, when you see the Democrats, the way they operate is this. If that happens in a Democrat, they're going to go and they're going to say, listen, dude, we're primarying you. We're going to put our money behind a primary. We're not accepting this. And that guy might say, but I'm reliable for you 80% of the time. And they would say, how about 100%?
Exactly.
You're in a deep blue area. There's no chance that a Democrat loses this. We're going to treat you like a Republican. You are with us 100% of the time, or you're out, and we're going to find someone that will be. And the Democratic machine will push that, and the Democratic base will reliably listen to the machine, and they'll go in that direction. The Republicans, it's the exact opposite. Oh, we have to support these people no matter what. You can't expect. We're not doing purity tests. This isn't a purity test. We're electing people that on key issues basically are governing as liberals, right? And it's like, this doesn't have to be this way. Yes, you understand in certain areas. I get it with Murkowski. I get it, right? You can understand. Well, I hate her too, but
I don't get it. And Murkowski, the only reason she's still in is because of ranked choice
voting. Yes.
That's the only reason she's in. And ranked choice, well, I could go days and rail against that. But yeah, it's the point is, to your point, what was his name? The senator from Connecticut who voted. He ran with Gore as the vice presidential candidate.
Oh shit! Not Lieberman, was it?
It was Lieberman.
Yeah,
Lieberman just so happened not even serious votes. I think he just voted for the surge, or some other things to do with the war, and went against the Democrats. Well, that they primaried him.
See you later, baby. Yep.
See you later.
Fetterman's gonna get it
90% of the time.
Fetterman's gonna be gone.
Nope. Key vote in Connecticut. You're done. See you later.
Yep.
And he ended up actually beating them. He was an independent for a while.
Yep.
But he was still very tentative on his votes after that. So even then, they demonstrated they gave him a little bit of pain, and he towed the line afterwards. So there is victory in losing as well. If you primary someone like Cornyn or Kennedy, And even if they win, but you make it a race against them, best believe they're going to have more conservative votes afterwards.
Yeah. No, and the key is, like, the lesson here is not that, oh my gosh, look at what those horrible Democrats are doing. The lesson is you learn to tip your cap and say, yes, that's how you wield power. And we need to do that. And if our leadership won't do it, then we as voters should do it. We as voters should demand and say, you know what? Then we're going to find someone to primary you because you suck. You're doing terrible. And then maybe that, like you're saying, even if you don't win, that they're like, uh-oh, we better start at least doing our phony baloney jobs a little more, or else they're going to run someone and beat us next time. And
it goes into one of the guys. He was a very conservative state rep in Ohio. His name was what was his name? Shit, how do I forget his name off the top of my head? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But he was quoted in saying once, I heard him in a seminar talking about confrontational politics. He'd much rather face the devil, fighting the devil with, the horns and the pitchforks, than the one, reading scripture and wearing a nice suit. Meaning, these Republicans, they might say the right things, but they're going to stab you right in the back.
Yep.
And at least with Democrats, who.
Yeah, I totally agree.
You know who you're proverbially shooting at. So.
Even if you look at this through like a military sense, right? It's always, if you go throughout history, the most damaging, like, let's say that you're going to face a force of, you have 10,000 troops, right? And you have the following two options. You're facing a battle against 2,000 troops. So it's like, yeah, we're 5-1, we're good. Or you're facing a battle against 500 troops, right? And you're like, oh, that's better, right? But 1,000 of your people defect and help them.
Right.
That's infinitely worse. Not being able to trust your own people is infinitely worse. You can't start pushing. You need the people that have your back need to reliably have your back so that you could push forward. If you have to worry that the people are going to stab you in the back, then you can't have your momentum to push forward. And that's certainly true in politics. When we spend so much time, like, and that's, I'm sorry, I know that maybe this sounds depressing to people, but I firmly believe if something happened right now, let's say just this won't happen. Right? But let's just say, hypothetically, a case gets to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court somehow rules the filibuster is illegal. And it's like, holy shit. So now, even if we think that decision's wrong until it's changed, now Republicans could pass a bunch of shit with just 50 votes. They wouldn't get shit done.
No.
They wouldn't. They would not. And it's like, they would be outraged. They'd be like, oh shit. Now we can't just point our fingers at Democrats and say, well, the reason we can't get shit done is because Democrats. They wouldn't. And it's depressing to know that. And it's like, that's where it starts. It starts at home. It starts like focusing on the people that you're supposed to allies and say, we're going to make sure. By the way, this is true foreign policy wise. This is why in Trump's first term, he was so harsh on the NATO countries. You're supposed to have our back. What are you doing? Right?
Exactly.
And it's like when those people don't have your back. But I got to let you go. I know the next guy's going to want to argue with me about Ukraine. So he always calls in. He must be in a time zone that it's like he can only call in the last 10 minutes. So, but Zach, it's a pleasure. Well, if you're not doing anything tomorrow, I'll be streaming all day. So
yeah, no, I'll definitely be probably calling in. I actually want to real quick debate you on hot dogs versus hamburgers.
I'm in. Your hot dog man
is on for tomorrow.
All right, I'm in for that. No problem.
All right,
Zach, take it easy. Please get the super chats in. Last call. We got like 7 minutes. Fight Sports Talk. What's happening, man? Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sorry.
There you go. There you go. What's happening?
I'm doing good, Rob. Thanks for having me on. As always, I just had to mute myself because I was waiting for you guys to finish. But yeah. First of all, Lindsey Graham for president. No, I'm kidding. I never thought I would even say that as a joke.
It's funny.
So what I haven't been able to ask you in the past, I'd love to ask you now, is the economy. Because, again, my personal foreign policy is aside, which again is looking at the wider picture here. The economy, it's kind of similar to, it's freakish how similar it is to Obama, because Biden was Obama's vice president, and it's it couldn't be more socialist and couldn't be more worse. Let's hope it doesn't get worse. So when and as a fan of Trump, I have no problem calling him an idiot for the dumb things he says. But I don't have a channel like yourself, so I don't have to watch my language. So when he's saying when he keeps saying it's all Biden, it's all like a Democrat hoax, I kind of get what he's saying, but at the same time, I think, okay, reasonably, how do you fix this? Because, which is what I wanted to ask you, because cutting some of the excessive costs like USAID with Doge and for aid that was given to illegal immigrants, great, but and you've mentioned how it's getting marginally better over time, but in terms of dramatic changes, and I'm no expert on political analysis, so I wonder, how do you fix this?
With the economy?
Yeah.
So I think that what you start to do is first you need to understand that GDP is not the end all be all, right? And that instead, for me, what the government's supposed to do is exist for the citizens of that country. That's what the goal is. So, for example, if we could I liken it this way, right? And so I bring this up because I think this is a fundamental mistake that not everybody, but huge portions of people are making. I have the Noor house. Let's just say it this way. I have this channel, Normal America with robnoerr, right? And let's say I want this channel to do good, and I want it to do good for me and my editor, Black Elk, and my mods, right? I want it to do good for all of them and myself, right? And it's like, that's great. So we have a meeting, and we're like, okay, if we could increase our revenue and our reach by 30% next year, that would be amazing for us, right? And let's say the way I do that, so I'm like, well, let's get rid of EOD. Let's get rid of EOD. We can get someone to be more productive, and that would help productivity. Let's get rid of
yes.
Let's get rid of Are We Not Men? Right? Oh, okay. Now we got a little more productive. And let's get rid of my editor, Black Elk. Let's get rid of them. Okay, now we're more productive. And let's get rid of me. Let's bring in someone else. Now the channel increased 30%, but none of the people are the same. Was it worth it? Do we say, things are better now? Normal America channel's up 30%. Well, yeah, but how's that a benefit to the people that formerly were the Normal America show? Like if we just bring in, for example, all lefties and all of us are forced out and all of the audience become lefties and everyone that enjoys this show's out, but the name Normal America, all of a sudden now it's a bigger channel for lefties. Why would it matter? It's like, well, who gives a shit? So the problem is we look at that. So once you understand, well, what does a good economy look like? It looks like a good economy for the people of the United States, not for immigrants, not for people that shouldn't be here, that are here illegally. That's irrelevant to me. And so what we do is, one, we get rid of the illegal immigrants. Second, we severely limit H-1B. Third, we end the loopholes in welfare and stuff and all the mass spending that's going out in these welfare programs that's fraudulent. Fourth, we end the mass spending in programs like USAID and things that Doge was cutting that cuts waste and fraud. Fifth, stop sending money to organizations like universities that are intentionally sabotaging us. Seventh, we incentivize bringing manufacturing back to the United States to make sure that blue-collar, middle-class jobs are going to get. 8, we end the welfare state as much as possible. We stop letting people be leeches on the system, and we give them things as a temporary measure if they need it, but we stop leaving it be a way of life. If we started those sorts of things, and then we did other things in conjunction with that, like massively increase energy production and things like that that could benefit us, I think we'd be in a far better position economically. But the problem is there would be short-term pain with GDP with some of those things, because if you bring in cheap labor from foreign countries, then your GDP rises. So people won't do it. So.
Yeah, well, a bunch of things you just mentioned. Let me know if I'm off on any of this, but it seems like, at least I think, Trump is doing some of that. As you see, cutting a lot of the waste, welfare state. I mean, we just saw I forget the name for it. It's kind of like checks for food. What's it called?
Food stamp benefits, like SNAP?
Food stamps.
Yeah.
Food stamps, thanks. Yeah, SNAP benefits. Those getting cut, and a lot of the waste they're getting taken away. Illegals, well, that's what Trump ran on, and thank God Stephen Miller's there. So are those... So now, the tariffs, there's no question, terrible idea with Trump. Thank God he's throwing out money to bail out the farmers rather than leaving them to dry, which is one.
You think the tariffs are that bad? I don't know. I'm up in the air. What's been the negative repercussions thus far for the United States? Trade deficit down, real wage growth up.
Oh, this is what's happening with the tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, one immediate problem was that it had an effect on the Canadian election, which
I don't give a shit about that as a U.S. citizen. I don't care.
Sure, and I'm not asking you to care. But it would have been better if, and I'm not just thinking about Canada, but somebody who has a better allegiance to the US, not just a socialist who may be marginally better than.
So
Trudeau,
what? In fact, it's better for me as a U.S. citizen if Canada becomes socialist. Great. Then their economy will go to shit, and we'll have a better chance to get a bunch of resources and shit, and jobs and shit will come to the United States.
Okay,
now, I don't really think of things in that nature, but blaming tariffs on the conservatives' failure in Canada is sort of nonsensical. Could Trump have worded things differently when he's saying Canada's going to be the 51st state? Sure, but that's not to do with tariffs, right? I thought that the way that I'm still up in the air about tariffs. I still think that it could be a net bad thing. But I appreciate the effort to do something that was markedly different with the intent of trying to help the U.S. worker, because every policy in the United States in my adult life from every other administration has been designed to fuck over the American worker, particularly blue-collar workers. So I'm happy tariffs, even if they fail, at least the intent behind it's to bring manufacturing back to the United States. The fact that we shouldn't have did it because it affected the Canadian election. I'll give you the final word, though. I do have to run. I have to pick up my son, but I'll give you the final word here.
Of course. Well, the things that you just mentioned about bringing manufacturing back to the US, we know that's a long-term project. It doesn't happen in the short term. Wish it could. Getting rid of a lot of the waste. He's done that with getting rid of SNAP benefits and deportations, getting rid of illegals, the welfare state, etc. Do you? I guess again, none of this was ever going to be fast. So when people who I follow, like Owen Schroyer, are talking about what's not happening, and we all know that arresting the deep state and stuff, that is very much a long shot. And if Trump does that, then we're just going to hear dictator till the end of time. So the kind of things that you mentioned, do you see Trump going in the right direction?
Yes.
I
think that Trump's had policies that are certainly going in the right direction. He could go further. I think he could have done more if his direction was focused there as opposed to so almost exclusively on foreign policy. And his messaging's been absolute dog shit. Like when he's putting posts out that's like, I don't want to hear any more about an affordability crisis. No, that crisis exists. You might say we're helping it. We're not the cause of it. It was the Democrats. But to claim that you don't want to hear about it anymore is tone deaf. And the problem is the way politics works is it's not always the best policy. If it was the best policy, Democrats would never fucking win. They're absolute garbage. People hate their policies overwhelmingly. But it's how you sell them. And the problem is, if you're out there saying, oh, trust me, the economy's great, no one has any pain, and I don't want to hear this shit, anyone who's complaining about the economy, that's a huge mistake. So, hey, I'd be happy. I'll be streaming all day tomorrow. So you can call in and talk about whatever you want, and I'll need callers. So I could give you tons of time tomorrow. I know you're in a different time zone, so we're always, I'm always having to run when I talk to you, but I do appreciate the call, man.
Thank you, man. All the best.
Thank you. All right, I got to get running. I got to go pick up the son. Someone, send in the last super chat to get us to 50% of our goal. It's possible. What's that, like $300? Yeah, 200 something bucks. Hell, just send in 200. We'll call it. Tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to start streaming. It'll be a couple minutes before 8:30. I'll be on a panel and we'll be talking about Somalia and the Somali sort of corruption that we saw in places like Minnesota. So please tune in for that. It should be fun. I'm going to try to end the stream a little early tonight, probably still midnight Eastern time. So we'll still do a good 4.5 hour stream. However, seeing us out tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern, I am starting my super underprepared 24-hour show. Please consider tuning in for that. I'm trying to get a good night of sleep for that. So please consider tuning into that. I want to say thank you to everyone who called in today. I want to say thank you to Avarice. Congratulations again. being a new father. I'm so happy for you and your family that you're home. Thank you to my editor, Black Elk. Thank you to all of my moderators. You guys are the best. I would never consider firing you all. Only using it to illustrate a point. Thank you to everyone who donated, everyone who liked, and everyone who watched the stream. I really appreciate you all. And a big shout out and thank you to our friend Jungle, who gave a one-time donation of $300. What an absolute legend. Look at that. And also a shout out to whoever the person is who's about to donate like at least $100 here, because we know it's going to happen during the closing. Thank you so much. We're going to raid over to the great Jim Bob. Please tell him I said hi. Please, please, please always keep the memory of the great man Charlie Kirk in your heart and say a prayer today for him and his family and what they've gone through. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you tonight around 8:30. As always, have a good one. And thank you again to whoever's about to send that big money.
Only in America is it possible to say, you know what, I don't like the way the country is going, and to do something about it. Take that risk. Take that leap of faith. Stay involved, trust God, and act obediently. Romans 12:2 verse, that God will use all things for good for those who love him. It's bigger than you. I want you to remember that. It is bigger than you. It's bigger than me. You are here to make somebody else's life better, the pursuit of liberty and freedom. You know what gives me strength? The hundreds of thousands of you that say, Charlie, keep going.
1 Corinthians 5 and 15. So that's all pretty amazing evidence, not just intra-biblical evidence, but extra-biblical evidence that Jesus Christ was a real person. He lived a perfect life. He was crucified, died, and rose on the third day, and he is Lord and God of all.